And I was like, wow. And I wanted to go at the guys on the team.
You're like, wow.
But I didn't want the coach to get mad at me because they're playing in the semifinals of a tournament.
Well, because Mahoney would have gone crazy.
Oh, there's no question. I knew exactly what his reaction was going to be. He asked me after every game, is there any news on Julio? Like if he's away from his phone for a while. And I'm like, no, there's no news. You just never know when this is going to drop. So I was just wondering if the word would get to them in the dugout during the game. But I wasn't going to be the guy that, hey, guys, yelled in there and had the coach go, what are you doing? We're playing a game, So they didn't know. None of the guys figured it out. Nobody said anything to him. So as the guys walked out of the dugout, I told them, I said, it's done. And they're like, what? I was like, yes, it's done. And they're like, no way. Julio? They all just exploded. Right? They're just like, oh, my God, Julio Jones. There's the odd guy or two that are not Titans fans. They grew up with fans of another team. They're like, I told you we were going to get Julio Jones. So it's the kind of trade that just gets people buzzing.
No question. That's all. I mean, there was so much chatter. I mean, by the time we got back to the field, I mean, some of the parents that, are huge sports fan, we got one dad, he's this massive Dolphins fan. He came right up to me. He's like, Julio, huh? I was like, yeah. I mean, obviously everybody saw it during our break. And yeah, it's just a deal that creates a lot of chatter. And good for us. We're in the summer months. Chatter's great. But, eventually we're going to find out whether this was a good idea or not. Let me ask you real quick, Willie, what tournament? Is this a U Trip? What Game 7? What do they play at Rose Park? What kind of tournaments are these? Who's running them?
Well, this one was run by his club, the Knights.
Oh, okay. So this is is this a fundraiser tournament?
No, it's it's just your basic travel tournament, just like the ones you play in. It's not overseen, I don't think, by any organization.
Huh.
I don't think. I mean,
okay.
all organizations are tied to. It seems like you have relationships with two things. It's called Perfect Game.
Perfect Game is one. That's why I was asking.
PBR is the other one.
Okay.
I love PBR. So do I.
Yeah, not professional bull riding, but
it's not what we were talking about.
The other PBR.
I guess that's cool too. They go hand in hand if you think about it.
Man, I just knew when Chase blurted that out.
I don't know what I've stepped in.
Here we go.
I don't know what I've stepped in.
Well, Elijah beat me to it.
I'm just telling you the name of the organization. But they sort of put together material on players, on teams. They rank teams, things like that. But,
gotcha.
So there was it was more of a regional. There was some teams from Alabama, from Kentucky, from Ohio. Nobody from way far out. Of course, a lot of teams from around here. And so that was going on at various parks: Rose Park, Shelby Park, on the east side, Nashville Christian. Some parks that host a bunch of teams. We're about 16, 20 teams, something like that.
Yeah,
maybe 20, 25.
Yeah, we had 20.
There were four pools.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
20 to 25. Yeah.
Okay, 4 brackets. Wow.
This was 15 and under. So.
Okay. Just curious. I know that's a ways away, but I was just curious.
But it's funny, there's I think there's probably some teams from other cities that were not too excited that Julio Jones was a Titan.
Or
there's
maybe they
some
were
Falcons fans, and probably some
Georgia,
Cleveland fans, some Bengals fans.
Yeah.
So it was quite the reaction, but it was the kind of thing that once it starts traveling through, everybody's like, oh wow, that gets people talking.
Yeah,
it gets people talking.
There's no doubt.
And
about that.
What was interesting is the consensus nationally seems to be that the money aside, and that's where I've spent my time really as concerned, right? But from a football side, it's an A, right? I haven't seen anybody say this was a bad move for the Titans.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Don't you think? I've even surprised that it's that strong from a football perspective. Just straight up A. And you guys set the odds difference,
right? The odds changed pretty
immediately.
Drastically in the Titans' favor. So, I mean, how do you really go against where all the odds, new odds that come out?
And you try to set aside that some of the odds are going to be based on sizzle, right? It's a big name. People are going to react because they know who Julio Jones is. But those people, they do their homework, right? It's not all based on sizzle. Those guys are football people that set that. They're making intelligent.
But there is sizzle involved. There's no doubt.
There's a lot of sizzle involved.
Yeah,
sure.
But you're right. It's not like it's just a big name and let's change the odds because it's a big name. No, I don't think A.J. Green moved the Arizona Cardinals odds.
No.
Right?
No.
So they do factor in, like, realistically, what does this mean?
But I have the odds.
But a guy who's had 58, 100 or more yard receiving games in his career tends to move the needle, right? When he's done that 58 times. That's a pretty good marker for a wide receiver.
So this is what kind of surprised me, because when you ask like reaction, immediately I go to Vegas. I'm like, all right, well,
You went
what
to
is
Vegas?
You hopped a plane?
I did. I jumped on Air Chaser
Did Bud
and
Walter's
flew out.
jet?
No, did not take Air Bud. But
That's a movie, isn't it?
it is. But so when the rumors started, when Diana Rossini's initial report came out, all the Titans odds came off the board, because that's typically what happens. When the trade was official, they went back on the board and they were updated. BetMGM put this out just after the trade was official. And I'll tell you the one that kind of surprised me a little bit. But to win the Super Bowl, the Titans went from plus 4,000 to plus 2,500.
That's a pretty big. That's a pretty big drop.
Jump.
That's a big drop.
To win the AFC, they went from plus 2,200 to plus 1,200. And then this
basically cut in half.
Right. This is the one that surprised me. To win the division, they were plus 110, now just plus 105. I thought that would move into minus territory. The odds on favor.
Well, just tell you, right. They're a pretty heavy favorite.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting from that standpoint.
How could you, honestly, if you really think about it, how could you come away and say, I mean, if we're going to sit here and talk the entire offseason that they're incredibly weak at wide receiver, and why wouldn't every team double up A.J. Brown and dare them to throw it to somebody else? How could you not think this is a good move when everybody knows that was a position of weakness?
Well, it makes me wonder. Remember, we spent a lot of time before the rumors started swirling and the whole thing with Sterling Sharp came out, the on-air thing, I'm out of there, guy, or I'm out of there, bro, whatever he said.
Yeah.
We were saying, hey, listen, there's a hole over there, right? There's got to be another move at wide receiver. And we're like, well, maybe they could go with what they got, but we kind of knew that there was a hole there. I wonder how long he knew this was coming, John Robinson.
Well,
I was reading a very interesting article out of that Julio Jones was going to become available, because this was an interesting thing that I think it's Jeff Schultz, right? Longtime writer for the Atlanta paper. He's now with the Athletic, right? He made an interesting point that Jimmy Sexton is the agent for Julio Jones. He's also the agent for Arthur Smith. So, and heck, he might be the agent for every coach on the Titans staff.
Yeah, he's my agent too, actually.
Who does he not represent? But maybe the intelligence was there from the get-go. And the word, and we'll get more on this from Wes Durham at 1. The word in Atlanta was that kind of Arthur Smith was presented, hey, we've got this Julio Jones situation. It would take a lot for us to keep him. How would you feel about moving on from him? And they made it sound like Arthur Smith sort of gave his blessing. Okay, let's start fresh without Julio Jones. Let's start moving this thing forward. I'm okay with whatever happens with him. And obviously Julio Jones had made it clear to the Falcons he wasn't real happy there, right? So they knew they would have to deal with that if they were going to try to keep him. And they basically said, let's not do that. Let's start fresh. Let's not put our coach in this position, and let's try to make a deal. So I just wonder when the Titans knew to where they could set their standards, letting Corey Davis go, approaching the salary cap as they did, sort of leaving a place for them to be able to do this, where I don't think every team in the league had that ability.
What did Corey Davis get from the Jets? Was it 10?
Almost exactly the same, right?
Did he get $15 million a year?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It's close.
That's what they would have signed him if they would have picked up his option, as the Titans would be paying
but what
him
did the
$15
Jets give him?
I'm looking here.
They gave him a lot.
I know it was somewhere between 10 and 15 a year.
Yeah, it's
just like 37 million
about
over 3 years, right?
12.5 is the average salary.
I mean,
okay.
So right there at 3 years, 37.5 million, 27 million guaranteed.
I think we can all agree that that's a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
Julio Jones,
provided he at 32 is something close to what he's been. If he's something close, then he's a big upgrade.
If you're going to believe in the odds makers don't basically cut the odds in half if they don't believe.
Yeah. Right. Corey Davis, the re-signing of Corey Davis
wouldn't have done anything.
Created the same odds. I agree.
It wouldn't have done anything.
And the other thing that was pointed out about the contract that is advantageous right now. Now, I think they've got to keep massaging this, right? As you said, Chase, and as we said all along, leading up to it, you don't want to have to do this and then cut 2 other starters to make this work. But they can get out of the deal after 1 year. Right? It's basically year to
2
year.
years, I think it's more 2 years.
Well, that's not what I read. But we'll check.
We'll double check that. The thing is,
it's like 17. They can get out of it with like 17 million over 2 years.
John said,
even if they want to get out this year, which is hopefully not the case.
In other words, $2 million in dead cap.
Well, and John said that they're going to talk.
After a year.
They're going to talk and look at the contract, and there are conversations they have to have. But he did say, because he was asked point blank, do you believe you're going to have to cut, or is this going to be more of a restructure situation? And he said, this is probably going to be more of a restructure situation. And so that you got to read the writing on the wall. Yeah. Tannehill's going to restructure. Julio, there could be some restructuring and give him more.
Yeah.
I mean, because the thing is, and we've talked about this, restructuring contracts is actually more beneficial to the player. It helps 100%. The team in the time,
it puts the money in their pocket.
Right. And you're just moving money around, but it's better for the player if you do that. So
it's a sign you're going for it. This is a going for it move. And that's
so I don't believe that there will be a cut as a result of this. I think John was trying to do this and keep his team as is intact. Now
the word will be start with an R.
Restructure. Which is fine. That's what you want. I mean, they're going for it. That's what this is.
It's fine now. Now in a couple years, we'll see
if
what it creates. But I think you have to be sitting here. You can't complain 2 years down the road and say, well, how did they get into this situation? If you're okay with this move, you got to be okay with the problems of pushing the money back, which it will eventually create some. That's fine.
If you walk in the lobby of that newly renovated facility and there's this shiny silver statue that's going to be sitting there in a case, then I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye if it hurts you.
Well, obviously that's the obvious extreme. But I mean, even if you go for it and it doesn't work out, I mean,
you got to say
you have to be okay. Yeah. But you have to be okay with it, because
I know one thing. I'm ready to see one of these Nashville teams go for it and it actually work.
Here's the thing, Chase. It's not easy. All you can do is go for it.
No guarantee. There's plenty of teams.
Just because you go for it doesn't say, all right, fine, you're awarded the chance.
I'm not saying that. I know it's not easy. Of course it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but it's all I'm saying. I'm being a fan for a second. I want it to work.
All you can do is root to live in a market and cover teams in a market that actually have general managers who will go for it.
Yeah.
And that's what we have.
We have 2.
Right, we've got 2
3
football, and I know we've got. I don't want to go down that road. I got it. We had soccer. I get pro sport, triple A's, pro baseball. I got it. But I'm saying when it comes to football and hockey, we have 2 general managers that, and quite honestly, Nashville LSC. I'll go on and throw them in. They've been going.
They're going to go.
They haven't been afraid. They haven't been afraid to make moves. So I mean, yeah, let's go on and throw them in there. They have not been afraid to make moves. Right now, the professional sports teams in this market have people that are running things that can make the moves, that are decision makers that are willing to go for it. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, all you do is give them a chance. Give them a chance. You go for it. Just because you go for it doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, quite honestly, more times than not, going for it doesn't work. That's just the sad reality. But at least you went for it, right? It's like the whole, how many times have you heard me say the Peter Forsberg? Well, yeah, after we've all seen it play out, of course. Peter Forsberg was a shell of his Hall of Fame career. Okay, so when everybody was jumping up and down and hugging each other and high-fiving when they traded for Peter Forsberg, all of a sudden now you say when you've seen the results, it's a bad move? No. They went for it. They added They added a future Hall of Famer, and it didn't work out. He was at the end of his career. He was banged up. Okay, it didn't work out. But why should you fault them? That's part of it, right? I mean, there's no way of knowing. At least they did something. How would you like to live in a market where
the
general manager just sat on their hands, didn't do anything?
The only thing I would add is you want to go for it when it's smart to go for it, right? Even if it doesn't work.
Well, you don't want to be reckless.
There are some teams that go for it. I can remember the Mets going for it many times in a really unintelligent way.
Oh, there are stupid go for it.
Right.
Sure.
There's the Knicks, many times.
Oh, we can play this game.
We can go right
for the rest
down
of
the line, right?
Naming New York teams and the Cowboys.
The Cowboys constantly go for it, and it's not smart,
sure,
right?
Exactly.
The way they do it. You pick your spots to go for it. I think this is one of those spots.
That's what I said. I mean, go for it, but don't be reckless. I mean, that's just silly stuff. I'm sure there have been opportunities that David Poile could have been absolutely reckless in going for it, right? And bringing real sizzle. And then you see what you gave up in the long run, and it's like, oh my gosh, right? 3 years later, you're going, holy crap. You've got to be kidding me. But I'm sure those opportunities were there in private phone calls, right? I mean, and all the other general managers that team called to try to pawn some sizzle player to them for some haul, right? And sometimes, oh, by the way, those phone calls work. That's what we're talking about. So I say, look, you're going for it, and that to me is a win. Now we'll see what happens. All right, we'll come back on the other side. We'll get a reaction from Terry McCormick, who's been covering the team since they arrived in Nashville. You can find his work at TitanInsider.com. We do that on the other side. Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5.
Titans have acquired wide receiver Julio Jones from the fall. Titans stack up in the division.
This window that the Titans are in is not going to be open much longer.
Keep it locked on ESPN 102.5 The Game. And the
cards now through June 10th to all Type O donors. With less than 1 day's supply of Type O blood, patients need your help. If you are Type O, please donate at Blood Assurance to save lives and receive a $20 gift card. To book your appointment, visit bloodassurance.org or call 800-962-0628. Patients need volunteer donors. Be someone's hero and donate with Blood Assurance today.
Willie Daunic here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Spring is here, and a time when many people do projects around the house. Are you struggling to open those old windows to enjoy the fresh spring air? It's a perfect time to take advantage of their great specials. Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville was voted the best window company in Nashville by House, Home, and Garden Magazine's Readers Poll, plus the best window company in Williamson County by the Williamson homepage. I recommend you contact Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Golf like no other at Hermitage Golf Course. Voted the top daily fee course in Tennessee by Golf Digest. Hermitage has been a must-play in Nashville for 35 years. Hermitage is a high-end public golf course featuring 2 stunning layouts. Choose from 8 luxury cottages on site for a stay and play or just a relaxing getaway. With a newly renovated bar and grill and full-service catering, Hermitage is the perfect place for your next outing as well. Hermitage Golf Course in Old Hickory, Tennessee, home of the Scottish Blackface Sheep, and your next golf adventure.
312 Pizza Company is family-owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. And always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open 7 days a week and located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Time to save cash fast. It's the 102.5 The Game deal of the week from Party Foul. Go to theGameNashville.com right now to get half off a $30 gift card. Party Foul, your home for Nashville hot chicken, local brews, and boozy slushes.
ESPN's Turron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
I want to see how much they put on Elijah Molden because that young man is a very intelligent player.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
I think that's an example of playing beyond scheme.
Only on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Sean, I'm waving at you. Can you see me? I'm waving. Back here on the DDC, ESPN 102.5 The Game on this overcast Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Let's bring in Terry McCormick, Titan Insider.com. .com. The big news coming down yesterday, Julio Jones is on the move from the ATL, and he's headed to the great state of Tennessee to play for the Titans. Terry, your initial reaction was?
Well, I was a little bit surprised that it got done, especially on a Sunday. You guys talking that, you were at the ballparks when you found out. I had been at the ballpark all day on Saturday, and fortunately on Sunday, didn't have to be at the ballpark. I actually found out at church that Julio Jones was the Titan.
Were you praying at the time for that to happen?
Well, it's funny you say that. I texted somebody from the Titans organization, for confirmation when it was initially broke, and said, "Hey, found out about this. I'm in church right now." And the text responded back, says, "Thanks for the prayers."
Now, so create the scene here, Terry. Did you have to sort of slip it to the side? You don't want to offend the congregation.
Right. You didn't belt out, "Yes."
Yeah.
Did
you?
Were you able to text subtly, kind of out of view, or did you walk out to do it? How did you do it?
I actually found out just as it was being dismissed, so I was able to kind of get out into the foyer area before any reaction.
Okay. So you're able to sort of file out cool, calm, and collected. You didn't have to interrupt the sermon or anything.
Right. The service had just ended.
Can you imagine in the middle of a sermon, the guy stops and says, "Hey, we got news. The Titans just got Julio Jones."
Let's go to Terry McCormick from TitanInsider.com.
Well, are you like, "Julio Jones to the Titans, pass it along. Julio Jones to the Titans, pass it along." And it's just going through the congregation. "Julio Jones to the Titans, pass it along."
Yeah. Can I get an amen?
What did you think of compensation? What do you think of what the Titans had to give up to get his services?
I think it's fair. I mean, I think, if you read it, between the lines, you read some of the reports that are out there, most of the people didn't think the Falcons were going to get a first-round pick, even though I think that's kind of what they were holding out for. And basically the Titans, it sounds like, played the waiting game, and John Robinson said, "Here's the offer." And turns out that that's the best that Terry Fontenot down in Atlanta could get in unloading Julio Jones, because you got to remember there's another part of this equation that when you talk about the compensation that is kind of underplayed in this. The Falcons were in cap jail. They didn't have enough money to sign their rookie class. So any team that was going to make a play for Julio Jones was not going to give up fair market value simply for the fact that they're doing the Falcons a favor in one sense by bailing them out of cap jail and allowing them to have money to spend.
There's no doubt about it. They get a compensatory pick for Corey Davis, right? What round is that they're going to get for Corey Davis?
It'll depend somewhat on how well Corey Davis plays for the Jets this year, but it can be as high as a third-round pick. And It's funny you bring up Corey Davis, because there's a thing that I wrote at TitanInsider.com, and in my honest evaluation of the situation, I don't know how long they had been in pursuit of Julio Jones. John Robinson said yesterday that it had started to manifest itself 2 or 3 weeks ago when it looked like that the Falcons were going to move Julio Jones, and the Titans discussed it and decided that they wanted in on it. But I think when you look at where this Titans team was, last year, we all know the well-chronicled talk and what we saw last year, that the defense was not up to par. That this team was, when they were winning games, most of the time it was 34-30. There weren't a lot of 16-13s out there. And however they did it, and I think they did it by stacking the box and by trying to lock up their best corner on A.J. Brown. The Baltimore Ravens solved the Titans' offense in that playoff game. Would you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in solving the Titans in that playoff game, the Titans, in order to counter what the Ravens defense did, they were going to need either Corey Davis or Jonnu Smith to step up big and be a playmaker in that game. Jonnu Smith had 2 catches for 9 yards. Corey Davis had no catches for no yards.
And got hurt, right? In fairness, he was unavailable. I can't remember exactly when he
Yeah.
That the play we'll all remember, right? Is they had the matchups, but they had to throw the ball to Khalif Raymond, right?
Yep.
And not Corey Davis or somebody else who was a little bit more of a weapon.
And I think that right then and there, I think that the Titans front office realized that there's a market value for those guys, and we're not going to go beyond what we feel like our price is that we value those guys at. If they walk away, then I'm going to find a way to replace them with somebody better. And I think that whether that was going to be Julio Jones or whoever that was going to be, I think that was kind of the genesis of it right there. Because I think they realized that in order for this offense to take them where they want to go, which is into the elite category of teams with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Bucks and, a couple of others that you can throw in there, I think they knew that the inconsistencies of Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, they've been holding them back.
Terry, this brings up, I brought up to the guys in the last segment. I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Just along those lines, but more specifically, I wonder where they found out or when they thought specifically Julio Jones could be available to fill that role. How far back do we go? Like you said, they mentioned this has been manifesting for a couple of weeks, but really they had to foresee this before that, right?
Well, the Falcons, from what the reports are, had been shopping him since March. He could have been had before the draft. The catch was that it was always going to be a post June 1 transaction in order to split the salary cap hit and that sort of thing for the Falcons.
And the asking price was pretty darn high, I'm sure.
And yes, absolutely. And so it became a matter of a waiting game. Wait it out, see if see what happens, see if the price will come down. It's sort of like being at the car lot when you're dealing with the car dealer, and all of a sudden, they throw a number out there, and you've got a number in your mind that's several thousand less, and then all of a sudden, you get to talking, and you get them meeting, and they're talking to this guy and talking to that guy, and pretty soon if you buy the car, it's usually somewhere in the middle. So I think that's kind of what John Robinson was doing.
A lot of people believe that there's real pressure on John Robinson for this to work out. I believe the real pressure is going to be on Todd Downing. On one hand, he should be, jumping up and doing high fives to the ceiling tiles in the facility. Of course, they probably don't have tiles in the new facility. It's probably very, very nice. But on the other hand, he's got big shoes to fill with Arthur Smith's absence. And there's going to be real pressure when you have the top running back in the league and you've got 2 number 1 receivers, and the stats that Ryan Tannehill has put up in the last couple of seasons. There is going to be real pressure on Mike Vrabel and Todd Downing in particular, since he's the OC, for this team to be scoring a lot of points. If this team is not scoring at will, I don't want to say at will, it's the NFL. But if they're not putting a lot of points and they're not a top 10 offense in the league, to me, there is going to be a lot of questions about Todd Downing. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think, a lot of people were initially critical of the Todd Downing hire simply for the fact that, Mike Vrabel stayed with his comfort zone of hiring within the building as opposed to, really stretching outside and looking around to see if there were fresh ideas elsewhere. That's kind of been his MO. He did it with Shane Bowen to replace Dean Pease, even though Bowen didn't have the title last year. He's done it, a couple of different times. He promoted Arthur Smith initially, and that worked out really, really well once Matt LaFleur moved on. So he's far in terms of staying in-house, making his coordinator hires. So to me, I think it's going to open up Downing to criticism if it doesn't work out, because like you said, there's a lot of weaponry and a lot of high expectations there. It's also going to open up Vrabel to criticism if it doesn't work out, because he's the guy that put Todd Downing and felt like he was ready for this challenge.
Terry McCormick from TitanInsider.com is with us. So, Terry, what's your theory on how they clear the cap space to make this work without having to cut other starters?
Yeah, I think they're going to, the way Robinson talked yesterday, I think that they're going to restructure a player or two, and they've got about 4 candidates that they can do that with, and put a little money in their pocket, and push some money forward to when the cap is more like a normal cap in a year or two from now. Ryan Tannehill's the first name that comes to mind. Taylor Lewan, Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry. Those are the 4 highest salaries, I believe, in terms of base numbers on the team. Then the other option is to simply go to Julio Jones and try to rework his deal. Try to, if you feel comfortable adding one more year, even though that, I think most people feel like this is probably about a 2-year window, given that Julio Jones is 32 years old. I think a lot of people feel like he's got probably 2 really productive years left in him. If you want to gamble and give him a third one, knowing that, it may not be a real return on investment in that third year, that's fine. They can do that. So they have some options there in terms of how they want to fit him under the salary cap.
And the other thing, it's been so fun to watch other players, but particularly A.J. Brown throughout all this, right? The recruiting tactics from the very, very start, the funny Instagram messages. I love the one with the picture of him and the picture of his teammates in the background and him putting his hand over here. What about this guy? You're going to play with this guy. But it seems
he's already asking who else Titans fans want. He's on the recruiting trail.
He's an ace recruiter now. But I do think the chemistry between all of the receivers and Derrick Henry will be important. I feel like they're going to get off to a really good start. But the question we've been tackling a lot, Terry, is do you think that Julio Jones can play in a different system, maybe a slightly different role where he's not automatically the guy that's going to be targeted the most every week? I mean, how much of adjustment do you think that will be for him?
I think it'll be a little bit of an adjustment, but he probably was on his way to that at his age, even if he had stayed in Atlanta. I know, he and Matt Ryan had a lot of chemistry together. They'd had a lot of success together, but you got to remember, the Falcons also had drafted Calvin Ridley. He'd found a role, and I think Julio Jones is most about wanting to win, most about wanting to get an opportunity to get back to a Super Bowl and win it, having such a bad taste in his mouth from what happened with the Falcons a few years ago. I think, he's a good enough player that even, whether he's listed as the number 1 receiver or the number 2 receiver, I think he's going to make the adjustment because he's a talented guy and he's a veteran and he's had a lot of success. I don't see why he wouldn't have success here in this offense.
We're talking to Terry McCormick, TitanInsider.com. And one thing that John was asked yesterday, Terry, was about the tight end position. That was another area that they may look at. But obviously now giving up the 2nd-round pick, giving up a 4th in 2023 to get Julio and the money, that's going to be difficult to address. So do you think that they're going to ride with what they have at that position, or maybe try and find somebody off the scrap heap to kind of help with that, or what do you think they're going to do with the tight end?
Well, right now, the way John Robinson makes it now, they're probably going to roll with who they have, but I think they will keep looking. I know a lot of people, for sentimental reasons, think they ought to bring back Delaney Walker. My way of thinking wouldn't hurt, but I think you'd have to make sure that he's healthy and have to make sure that, he can still contribute if you brought him back. I know he'd be a fan favorite and all, but with what they have, I think Ferkser is going to be just fine catching the football. Swain will be just fine as a blocking tight end. It'll be interesting to see because those are really the only 2 established guys you have. If they go and try to find somebody else to add to the mix, before training camp starts, that's always a possibility. But the other thing is, you may have to look at what you have and see if one of these undrafted rookies, whether a Miller Forrestall from Alabama or maybe even Jared Pinkney from Vanderbilt, who had a nice career with the Commodores for his first 2 or 3 years before the offense imploded his senior year, and that hurt his draft stock. You wonder if a guy like that could have a strong camp and maybe earn that 3rd tight end spot. I mean, I guess with the way that they've gone about this and acquired Julio Jones and added Josh Reynolds, wide receiver is now such a strength that maybe you play a lot more 11 personnel than you do, 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. and knowing that with 3 wide receivers on the field, that teams are not going to be able to play an 8-man box, which is going to allow Derrick Henry to get his touches and be just as successful.
So, in your opinion, the offensive group that they have going into camp, is this it? Is this pretty much what we can expect come late July when they report?
I think it's possible that this is it. I mean, I'm not ruling out, and John Robinson said yesterday they're always looking, but I'm not ruling out them adding a tight end. If they do, I don't think it's going to be anybody of star quality. I don't think it's going to be somebody that people are going to go, oh, now look what they've added. I think it's just going to be somebody who could come in, be a steady guy, catch 25 to 30 passes, and do some blocking. Because that guy's going to get single coverage with all the weapons that are on the field. I kind of believe that they might go a little bit more 11 personnel this year as opposed to 12 personnel.
And then real quick, Kevin Johnson retires unexpectedly. And I know that he was not brought in to make a huge impact, but was brought in to be a depth player. That saves them, I think, a little north of $2 million in cap space. But were you surprised by that news coming out on Friday, I believe it was?
Yeah, I was, because he's one of those guys that kind of a Mike Vrabel guy, one that Vrabel had a past history with. And a lot of times, those guys, seem to land here a lot. It happened with Jonathan Joseph. It happened with Jadeveon Clowney. Neither one of those worked out very well. But, I don't think they were counting on Kevin Johnson to be a starter. I think at best he would have been a 4th cornerback for this team. And I guess, they'll be looking elsewhere to see what they have on the roster and looking out in the free agent market to see if they can solidify a little depth at the corner position behind their first 3 guys.
Thanks for the visit, as always. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Darren McCormick. His work can be found at TitanInsider.com. We'll be back to wrap up the first hour of Darren, Daunic, and Chase next.
Listen to us talk sports out of our app.
That's a heck of an investment.
How cool was that story? Single.
They're out shooting teams.
I think he's a good player.
Day.
Okay, good talk.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Dew points are in the 70s, so it's going to feel uncomfortable today. Highs in the lower 80s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible as well throughout the day and for the rest of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When you get to be my age, you've seen just about everything. But the one thing I plan on never seeing is out-of-pocket expenses that Medicare doesn't pay for. And with Medicare supplement coverage from Farm Bureau Health Plans, I'll never be out of network, so I can use the doctor I want to choose. So if you're turning 65 and have questions about Medicare supplement plans, dental, vision, or prescription drug coverage, talk to a representative today or visit us at fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Housing prices here are through the roof. That means you're probably sitting on a ton of home equity. Maybe it's time to turn that equity into cash you can use now. Hey, Willie Daunic here talking about Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate, pay the closing costs for you, and get you a bunch of cash out. I mean, like tens of thousands of dollars. So don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it to pay off credit card. Use it to consolidate other debt. Use it to make your home even more valuable with a new kitchen or bathroom. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. You can get a big check in 2 weeks. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. Loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero-cost option not available on all loans.
312 Pizza Company is family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. and always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open 7 days a week and located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Robbie Stanley.
I was waiting in anticipation for something to happen.
Joe Rexrode.
It's also 3-on-3. It's a little easy to score in 3-on-3. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can take this.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. If you've missed any of today's show, just search Darren, Daunic, and Chase on Apple, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, so we've been talking, Jim, for probably 2 or 3 weeks here, back and forth with Atlanta and Terry Fontenot down there, and my hat's off to him. This is his first big trade. He was great to work with. But he's got a great career ahead of him. So I appreciate working with him and dealing with him. But we had discussions really, kind of back and forth for the last couple weeks. Kind of picked up in intensity a little bit yesterday, and then finally found some closure this morning on it and able to agree to the terms on it.
John Robinson, Titans general manager, speaking yesterday to the media. Translation, thank goodness. He didn't press and keep pressing. Thanks for being realistic about this. Appreciate that. Let me praise you a lot. Thanks for not trying to just beat me down over this, because we wanted Julio Jones. You wanted to get rid of Julio Jones, and you basically conceded. That was the translation that I took from that. And here we are today talking about Julio Jones to the Titans. That's what I took from it. That he's praising the general manager for going, you know what? Thanks for not being unrealistic.
It's funny though. You do wonder subconsciously what the message is or what he's feeling internally, because, let's just try to relate it back to ourselves in our various fantasy leagues, right? There's the new owner that comes in. Hey, welcome to our league. You're inheriting this team. You've got so-and-so. Hey, would you like to make a deal? You probably don't want this guy you're trying to build, keeper league, I'll trade you a couple keepers, or, you kind of butter the guy up a little bit.
Sure.
So you can just jump right in there and get the deal that you want. I do wonder, because the grades for the Falcons are not quite as high. This guy's inherited a mess, right? That's why he's the GM, and they replaced the former GM, right? Usually when you come in as a new GM,
Thomas Dimitroff,
it's not everything is hunky-dory, right? So he has a puzzle he's got to figure out. And, the Titans were in an advantageous position. But I you remember what I said when this first came up. My offer was nothing, right? I didn't want to have to give up a second and a fourth. And so that's more than I thought he might get, realistically, in the position that the Falcons were in. They could not hold on to him. So, but if you're the Titans, given you get the 6th round back, so the 4th is a little bit of a little misleading, right? Because you do get a pick back. It's not a 4th. So maybe, I don't know what that comes out to. Is that a 5th net or something? But giving up a 2nd round is legit. That's pretty good compensation.
And what I brought up to Terry, they could get a compensatory 3rd round pick for Corey Davis.
Right. I'm sure they're looking at it that way too. That's probably in the back of their mind, is how am I going to come out? Where can I get that pick back? Well, there's one place right there.
Yeah. Oh, you don't think that they weren't talking about that?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Now the last piece to the puzzle is doing this without having to cut somebody that you'd like to keep, an important guy. And I think they'll find a way to do that. And now you want to do it without just killing yourself a couple of years down the road, where you have to blow stuff up or really be in a tough spot cap-wise. And that's hard to do. And that's the price you pay sometimes for trying to go for it when you have your ducks in a row.
You know what's interesting is, for the last few weeks we've been talking about this. And when we initially started talking about it, I think I was less than 50% or right at it that it would happen, just because of everything we've discussed, of the money and the cap room and what you'd have to give up. But it does feel like in the John Robinson era, outside of DeMarco, because that was right at the beginning, we didn't know him, didn't know how to. If there's a big time rumor that is linked to this team, you can kind of follow the trail of whether it's gonna, like, you kind of know, yeah, it's gonna happen or it's not gonna happen. Like Jadeveon Clowney, it just always felt like it was gonna happen.
Right.
He was gonna land him. And with this, it was the same way. It just started, the longer this went, it started to feel like, yeah, John's gonna pull this off. The Titans are gonna land him. And like we said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. Now, I feel like I feel pretty confident that this is going to work with the pieces that are already in place. I mean, this offense is on paper going to be one of the most dangerous offenses in the National Football League, but again, have to see how it plays out. But I do find it interesting that you just kind of know now that we've gotten to know John these last few years, you kind of know when he has his eye on something, he's going to do everything he can to make it happen.
There's been, Darren, 4 GMs, right, since the team has been here. Correct? You got Floyd, Leinfeld, Rustin Webster, and now John Robinson.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Maybe this is just me and perception, but it just seems like John Robinson has had way more daring trades with big names.
There's no
than his 3 predecessors combined.
Well, Floyd, right? I don't think Floyd. I mean, we kind of know
Floyd
how
made
Floyd
a couple,
operated.
but not the. I mean, based on how long he was here, it's trades per year. If you did a ratio, I feel like John Robinson.
A little different league than though.
Floyd was much better at finding diamond in the roughs. He was much better than he's better than John Robinson. He's better than the other 2 that you mentioned. I mean, remember Kyle Vanden Bosch Floyd looks like a genius, right? It's like, oh, what a great move. They got him off the scrap heap. Who was the guy, Willie, from Memphis that came in? The guy, defensive end. Tony Brown. Scrap heap, and was highly productive, right?
Was he a draft pick or a free agent?
I think he was
free agent. He was out there. He was just out there.
Yeah.
Like he was on no roster, and Floyd just plucked him and brought him in. I mean, he was very, very good about. I mean, he did a really good job, but it wasn't about sizzle with Floyd, right? Remember,
he did it in the draft.
Remember the Colts linebacker they brought in? I'm drawing
David
blanks.
Thornton.
David Thornton.
Yeah.
It wasn't about sizzle. It was about what worked for what this franchise was doing. What, the scheme, the system, what they had in place. Floyd was very, very good. But it really wasn't about him bringing in names.
He traded,
tell me.
He traded for Kevin Carter. He traded his first-round pick for Kevin Carter. That was a big one.
Yeah.
But remember,
other than
the backdrop, they loved Kevin Carter coming out. They wanted him.
Yeah.
But that was the year they took Steve McNair.
But I'm just trying to think of other trades besides that. That's the first one comes to mind. I'm just trying to think of others.
I mean, the Carl Pickens and
but those were
Yancey
signings.
were big free agent signings. Like,
yeah, but that's a different category.
Attention.
I'm talking about
like trades,
stepping up to trade, like DeMarco Murray, Julio Jones,
Dennis Kelly. Dennis Kelly counts. I know at the time there was no sizzle whatsoever, but it ended up being
it's not a blockbuster trade, but it's a trade.
No, but it's a trade that worked out heavily in their favor.
They traded the first pick in the draft. That was a major, major trade.
Floyd would trade down in the draft. He wouldn't trade up. He traded down. He was another one.
But just when you have the first pick and you do the elaborate moves that he did, that takes some guts, right? To do that.
Who are we missing?
But I also
was Kevin Mawai a free agent signing?
Oh yeah.
See, it was a little bit of a different league. Trades were not as prevalent as much
weren't.
in that day.
No, trades actually the trading deadline in the NFL was a snooze fest.
Well, and even off season, you just didn't have as much movement.
Mike Reinfeldt, I don't know that he ever made a trade.
There was
not much going on
much
there.
activity in NFL trades. Today, way more.
Floyd, but you're right though. Floyd's was like, I think John is decent at late round picks in those working. I mean, Jayon Brown has been a prime example, but Floyd was really good at the draft. I mean, Cortland Finnegan was a seventh round pick.
Seventh round.
Finding guys like that, and then the guys you mentioned in free agency. I mean, there's a ton that were signed, for nothing that you'd never heard of. Was Babin? Was that Floyd or was that
Floyd.
After him?
That was Floyd. Yeah, that was.
I couldn't remember if that was
Floyd.
No, he was
a free agent.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're right. I guess there's more trading now, but I'd like to see John Robinson's ratio of trades compared to his contemporaries in the league now.
How did Neil O'Donnell get here?
Yeah, that was a free agent. That was another one.
Free agent again?
After that mega deal with the Jets.
Well, he went to the Bengals after that. I think he came from the Bengals because he was already cut or cast off by the Jets. I mean, obviously, the one we didn't mention, too, is Ryan Tannehill. That was a trade.
Yeah, of
right.
Course. Well, that's
the wheeling and dealing.
That's going to go
Robinson,
down as John's best, probably.
So he goes about it interesting. But how many? Like we're going way back, and I agree with you guys. Less trades in general, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But now, even when you see more trades, doesn't John Robinson do more trades?
Well,
than
now
most?
that you bring it up, I can't even. I mean, we're having a hard time even thinking about a Floyd trade.
Or a Mike Reinfeldt trade?
Well,
or Rustin Webster trade?
They were in you have to admit, they were in a different place.
They had nothing to trade.
Those teams weren't very good.
They didn't have
Floyd's
much to trade.
teams were good. So, they were going for it a lot.
That's true.
There was cap issues, and so it was a little bit different time. But I'm drawing blanks on the Floyd trades.
Kevin Carter is the only one that I can really think of.
I've hit a wall after Kevin Carter. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's just Kevin Carter. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's got to be
swapping
more
picks on draft day and things like that, but not trading for established players. So we're seeing more trades, like you said, like we just look at Carson Wentz and the swap of the Rams.
Well, players are forcing it though too. That's the other part.
That's
like players are forcing teams' hands. They're saying, "I want out of here," and they're look. Why do you think we're talking about this?
Right, because
Julio Jones has forced the trade. Right, Carson Wentz. I mean, I really wouldn't say Carson Wentz forced, but that was just a broken relationship. That was a relationship that was ending in divorce. So everybody knew. But, you had the Deshaun Watson. If it wasn't for what happened, all the news that came out, my guess is Deshaun Watson would have been on another team this offseason. I mean, players, and who knows how this, and if it wasn't for all the money attached to Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay would probably part ways, but they're kind of stuck, although I still don't know how that's going to play out. But players didn't do that. That's another part. They didn't do that back in the era that we're talking about. Players didn't understand how much power they truly had, like today's player, and it really didn't probably happen in the NFL. The NBA is probably the one that set all this in motion, and so they all see that, and the other leagues start doing it, and the players realize they do have power. But yeah, I mean, to your point, there's no doubt. I would say today, John Robinson's biggest strength so far has without a doubt been trading.
Desmond King.
Desmond King's another one. Was that a 6th round pick?
Kamalai Correa, who he eventually traded. That
has been his biggest strength.
Well, just his tactic, right? I mean, I guess you would have to call it a strength, but I'd love to see a list of GMs and how many trades they've made.
Well, you don't think it's his biggest strength right now? I mean, it's not free agent signings. Well, it's not the draft.
I think he's had a pretty good success rate with the trades, no question.
So
he hasn't had the massive flops like he has in free agent signings and drafts. I mean, think about it. What flop trade has he made? Has there been a colossal flop trade that I'm missing?
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't.
All the ones we mentioned, I think, were worthy trades.
So I've pulled up Spot Rack has. You can pull up every transaction a team has ever made in their history.
And you've read that?
Have you thought about doing live spots for them?
I really should. We should get it on that. March 29th, 2001, Kevin Carter. All right. And I'm just looking at the Titans.
You're just looking at trades.
Yeah, these are just trades. All right. 2002, nada. And that was in 99 and 2000, no trades, according to this. 2003, nada. 2004, I mean, I honestly can't.
I was just look for the next one. When's
that's
the next one?
That's what I'm looking. I'm going year by year. I'm going year by year.
Oh, I thought you would memorize this.
No,
like Matt Damon and Good Will Hunting.
No, and there aren't any. I even asked Jared. I was like, can you remember other than Kevin Carter? And then 2000.
What year are we on now?
2006. Nothing.
Is Darren married yet? We're going on the timeline.
Okay,
here.
so that's out. Floyd's out at this point. So that there you go. There's your answer. Now I don't know about before the Kevin Carter trade.
Let's see. Floyd's first year as GM was 94.
It was Houston. So it was before that.
No, that's about right.
No, that was right. He was assistant GM.
What didn't he draft Brad? When was Brad Hopkins a rookie?
93, but I don't.
Didn't he draft Brad Hopkins?
I don't believe so.
Floyd didn't draft Brad Hopkins.
He was on the team. He was a part of the front office.
Well, remember, he took over for Mike Holovac, who had been there for a long, long time. He was working side by side with him. I don't remember exactly the year took over. It might have been 93. Remember, 93 is when they had the great team that they had to blow up. In the early days of the salary cap, they had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They lost to Joe Montana in the Chiefs, and then they had to completely start over, which is when Jeff Fisher took over and et cetera.
He traded back in 96, and that's how he got Eddie and John Runyon, and then traded Chris Chandler to get the pick that drafted Derek Mason.
Yeah, we know he's traded back. He didn't trade up. He would always trade back.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. Hour number 2, we'll talk with TD a little bit later in hour number 2. We'll go to East and talk to Vince Ferrara. What a region that was in Knoxville. We'll do that at high noon. Round 2 in basketball is no joke, and this is where the contenders are separated from the pretenders, and DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100. I suspect I have your attention now. That's 100-1 odds on any basketball game. Pick any team that's still in the hunt for a trophy. That team wins. You receive $100 in free credits. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code 1025GAME. And when you sign up, turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on any basketball team of your choice to win their next game. And if they do, you claim $100 in free credits. That promo code, again, you need to use 1025GAME. This is for a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, you must be 21 years of age or older. Tennessee only. Wager paid out in site credits. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and needs help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Willie Daunic.
There's got to be a combination of these things, I think, for it to work.
Aaron, Daunic, and Chase, weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Sounds fans, Jeff Hem here with your Nashville Sounds update on ESPN Nashville. The Sounds are off today and finally back at First Horizon Park tomorrow night after going 9-3 on a 12-game road trip that at one point involved a 15-game winning streak. The Sounds did fall on Sunday in Charlotte 3-2. Dylan Cousins tried to help the Sounds rally. Next pitch, and Cousins hits a high fly ball. Deep center field. Gonzalez going back, looking up, gone. And Dylan Cousins turns around a fastball and hits his first home run as a Sound. A booming shot to the right of straightaway center, and it's a one-run game in the 6th. Cousins pulls the Sounds within 3-2. A one-run game at that point, and that became the final. The Sounds split that series, but went 9-3 on the 12-game trip. Zach Godley gets the ball tomorrow night at 7:05 as the Sounds host Indianapolis on ESPN 94.9.
It's time to celebrate all the dads and grads out there, and Electronic Express is here to help. Huge savings in every department, starting with the latest in home entertainment from Samsung, LG, TCL, Sony, and more. Huge deals on computers and laptops, Bluetooth speakers, housewares, and more. Don't forget, up to 40% off appliances from LG, Whirlpool, GE, Samsung, and more. In stock and ready to deliver. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
Golf like no other at Hermitage Golf Course. Voted the top daily fee course in Tennessee by Golf Digest. Hermitage has been a must-play in Nashville for 35 years. Hermitage is a high-end public golf course featuring 2 stunning layouts. Choose from 8 luxury cottages on site for a stay and play or just a relaxing getaway. With a newly renovated bar and grill and full-service catering, Hermitage is the perfect place for your next outing as well. Hermitage Golf Course in Old Hickory, Tennessee, home of the Scottish Blackface Sheep, and your next golf adventure.
Housing prices here are through the roof. That means you're probably sitting on a ton of home equity. Maybe it's time to turn that equity into cash you can use now. Hey, Willie Daunic here talking about Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate, pay the closing costs for you, and get you a bunch of cash out. I mean, like tens of thousands of dollars. So don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it to pay off credit card. Use it to consolidate other debt. Use it to make your home even more valuable with a new kitchen or bathroom. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. You can get a big check in 2 weeks. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. Loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero-cost option not available on all loans.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase, with hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Second hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this Monday show. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, listen to the game every weekday for your chance to win 1,000 buckaroos. It's the game's 1K payday presented by Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay. Listen for keywords at 9 a.m., noon, and 3 p.m. When you hear it, go to thegamenashville.com and enter the keyword for a shot at $1,000. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, Chase McCabe with you, Elijah Campbell on our Wholesale Link Game Studio board, powered by RumbleOn.com. We'll have a chance for you to tell us this is what you know. Just tell us what you know. We have a really good prize attached to that that's coming up before we get out of this hour. We'll also head to Knoxville. Wow. What a finish Friday night against Wright State. Down 3, bottom of the 9th, and kaboom. Grand slam walk-off.
That was amazing.
See you tomorrow. And by the way, he knew it right away. Just look at his celebration.
Yes, he did.
Look at his celebration.
I have no issue with that either. Okay. I have no issue.
Well, I'm sure that will come up with Vince.
I know we have had some debates over bat flips and celebrations and etiquette and all that. I have no. When you know what you just did and you just won a game like that, you can celebrate however you want to.
Especially considering the ball probably hasn't landed yet.
That was an absolute tater.
Have a weekend, Drew Gilbert. What do you have? 3 home runs this weekend? I mean, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was.
He was the one who had the
we said all along. Tennessee had a tough regional, right? They had 3 good teams relative to some other regionals and where they were seated, and they took care of them.
By the way, Tony Vitello brought it up in his postgame. He's like, everybody thought but we were confident in our team. We're okay with it.
Well, they were down to a sliver in that first game. If they lose that first game, they got to go a long road back. So that moment on Friday night was huge. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt played an epic last night, 5 hours. A lot of you probably were long gone by the time it ended. So a lot of drama, but both teams.
So I have questions. So I'm just going to full disclosure. Yesterday was a long day at the ball fields, and got home late, and I watched. We sat around and talked because it was that was our last tournament for the season. So we're done with spring, and there was an epic championship game. A team that we played on Saturday from Kentucky that was the best team I've ever seen at this level, and they just destroyed us. It was just like the first inning. I was like, ruh-roh. I mean, it was just one of those. It was the best team I've ever seen, and they played this other team that we know very, very well. That's really, really good. They win a ton of tournaments, and I wanted to see how that power, and they met in the championship game in the top bracket, and I wanted to see how they were the 1 and 2 seeds overall in the tournament. I wanted to see how it played out, and that team from Kentucky destroyed them. I mean, I felt a little bit better about Saturday because I'm like, oh, so they are as good as I thought they were. But we sat around and watched it. So we got home late. And, you've been there all day. Time you take a shower, you eat something, you go to bed, whatever, or put the kid to bed. It's real late. And so I'm sitting there watching the game. Vanderbilt's in full control. I mean, it's 7-3, whatever. I've been watching, and they're in full control. And I will just tell you, I wanted to get a good night's sleep because we've had early games, and so we've been popping up really, really early, and I haven't slept much. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to maybe take a little melatonin and call it a night and get a good night's sleep.
I think you were not alone.
What, Willie? So I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden I'm starting to drift, and I'm waking up. I'm like, whoa, Georgia Tech, what's going on? And next thing I look up, Georgia Tech's winning the game, and I'm like, what is happening? So I get re-engaged, and the next thing you know, I woke up this morning. So I had no clue. Obviously, I saw your text, and I was like, oh, well, Willie just let the cat out of the bag before I need to go look and see what happened. I missed the whole thing. I missed the end.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was actually watching the Brett the Hitman Hart biography last night. So,
well, there was a lot of stuff. There was if you're a soccer fan, USA against Mexico was an incredibly dramatic game that had penalty kicks and bottles being thrown at one another. A guy for the United States got hit in the head. There was all kinds of stuff going on last night. But Vanderbilt was ahead. They were down 3-0, rallied to take the lead 7-3. Enrique Bradfield stole 4 bases in the first 4 innings. They take control of the game. They're up 7-3 with the bases loaded and nobody out in the top of the 5th. Vanderbilt is the visiting team. They hit what looks like a sac fly. Guy makes a perfect throw, guns the guy down.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
For a double play.
That was nice. By the way, I was a little surprised. That was pretty shallow. Like, I was surprised he was sent. Were you? And he's running in. I mean, it was shallow. I thought it was pretty shallow.
It's a challenge, running in. But I think if the throw is anywhere up the line either way, he's going to make it. So it was an aggressive move, but I didn't have a big problem with it. But Georgia Tech escapes the inning, still down 7-3, where it looked like they're hanging by a thread. The next thing you know, Georgia Tech has taken the lead 8-7. Isaiah Thomas.
By the way, the guy that Georgia Tech brought in the 5th or 6th, whatever, like, he needs to maybe work out a little bit more. I'm just saying, like,
6'6", 280.
Is
that big?
He was a big dude, but he also had looked like a little bear belly too. Just saying.
Yes, he did. He did.
Like he's maybe played
People
softball
notice.
On the side.
So he's a little doughy.
When that guy walks out on the mound, you notice. He appeared in both games.
He was a huge guy, but he was a little doughy. I'm just saying.
No question. And he also throws 97.
And he throws 97, yes. Actually, I think I saw 90.
Oh, he was the guy that looked like me walking to the mound, except he actually had talent.
Well,
honestly, that never crossed my mind, but go ahead.
Well, he had thrown 31 innings and struck out 55 and walked 40. So he walked more than a guy per inning and struck out about 2 per inning. And that's kind of what happened. So anyway, Isaiah Thomas dropped a fly ball with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th, and the next player hit a 3-run homer, and suddenly Georgia Tech's ahead 8-7. But then, I mean, it just all unfolded from there, Darren. So basically, after you were asleep,
that's where I started. Well, that's where I started.
The game
drifting.
didn't start till 8. So, but the drama just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Vanderbilt hit 2 home runs in the 8th to go up 9-8.
See, I
Georgia Tech homers with 2 outs in the 9th.
Oh.
To tie it at 9. The crowd's standing. It's over. Boom. Solo shot, 9-9.
Wow.
So then it goes to the 11th. Isaiah Thomas, who dropped the ball earlier in the game, hits a grand slam to go up 13-9. Vanderbilt tacks on 1 more. It goes to the bottom of the 11th. Luke Murphy cramps up with 2 outs and nobody on. Can't finish the game. Vanderbilt then has to use 3 more pitchers to get the last out because Georgia Tech keeps coming at you. They hit a home run. They drew a walk. They were 1 batter away from getting the tying run to the plate. It was the game that would not end. And Isaiah Thomas is going to join us at 1:30. He was right in the middle of all the action. Very, very talented player who got a bright future. But that was a big swing of emotions for him. He goes from, feeling bad about dropping a fly ball that could have kept the score 7-4, and they had complete control of the game, to all of a sudden they're at 11th inning.
This is the Vanderbilt Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, this is not
either
of the basketball.
I was just
Isaiah
making
Thomases.
sure. Yeah.
They're out of eligibility, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the baseball Isaiah Thomas.
Yep. They call him IT.
Okay.
It was a bomb. He hit it up on the pool, or what used to be the pool. I call it the pool, the gym, right? And it was one of those Carlton Fisk. Is it fair? Is it foul? And it hooked right around the pole.
Did he do the dance or the motions like he was?
He didn't, but he did. He didn't do a bat flip, but he held on to the bat as he was kind of, sliding down the line. Is it fair? Is it fair? Is it fair? And it goes around the pole, and he throws the bat down and goes into the home run trot. The place went nuts. I got to say, it rained a little bit. The game took 5 hours. I was impressed with all the people that stayed the entire time. It was incredible.
Well, they didn't take melatonin, so they were invested.
You needed to have the opposite. You needed a little Mountain Dew or a little.
What time did it end?
Red Bull, 1 a.m.
Oh yeah, I was way gone.
Started at 8.
Way gone.
Or 8:05, whatever it was to start, and ended at about 1:05 or 1:10.
Yeah. Well, honestly, when I took that, they were well in control. I didn't anticipate it being a game. I mean, shame on me. It is. They were playing for their playoff lives, and so shame on me. But I just thought, Vanderbilt's in control. I'll watch this for a while, and then I'll doze off, and everything. By then, it'll practically be over anyway. So that was. I gambled and I lost.
Yeah,
but I got a good night's sleep.
Hey, I understand. It wasn't on TV, right? You had to stream it to watch it.
I could not find it, and so I've got the voice-activated remote, and I'm like, Vanderbilt baseball, hello, where is it? What channel? And it was like ESPN 3, and I was like, okay. And then it said, you can watch right here. And so I just started right on the television. It was great.
But there was no rain delay. It took 5 hours because there were a couple of times where the pitcher got injured, and they had to bring in another guy, and he got as long as he needed.
No, it took 5 hours because it was a college baseball game.
Well, that's a little bit of it too.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of, and there were some replays that took a long time. That's another thing that delays the game.
I know we don't have time to go down that, but it's just like, man,
it's gotten better.
It's gotten better. It's still not there. It's still not there. It's gotten better, but it's not there. I wish they could just figure out a way to. I mean, it's just hard.
Well, Saturday's game, Jack Leiter's game, which was also, and that place was buzzing to watch Jack Leiter. He was really something, and that game took about the right amount of time, just under 3 hours. That's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was a 4-3 game.
Of course, you're always looking for, like the first pick in the draft or the second pick in the draft, be pitching and mowing people down. So,
but I'll tell you what, they made him work. They made him work. He threw 110 pitches in 6 innings.
Yeah.
It was quite the scene.
True. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk with TD. Turron Davenport in the on-deck circle. We'll talk about the big news that came down yesterday. Julio Jones, he has landed in Nashville. He was greeted by John Robinson coming off the private jet. And we'll talk with Turron Davenport next here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Breaking news. The Titans have acquired wide receiver Julio Jones from the Falcons. What kind of impact can Julio have on the two-tone blue?
85% of Julio Jones is better than like 85% of receivers in the NFL.
Where do the Titans stack up in the division?
I don't want to run with the idea that as soon as Julio Jones puts on a Titans uniform, the Titans are instantly Super Bowl contenders.
Keep it locked
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and you are going to be in hoops heaven betting all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. So many exciting matchups. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that FanDuel's taking the excitement to another level because new and existing users can bet risk-free throughout the playoffs. So new users can get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. And then once you have an account, you can bet one same-game parlay risk-free every week. You can combine multiple bets for an even bigger win. You've got your money line and point spread, but all kinds of different players, props, individual stats, assists, rebounds, the first basket score, and so on. And if you don't win on the same game parlay, you'll get up to $10 back on that. So basketball fans, now is the perfect time to give FanDuel a shot. The NBA playoffs are rolling. All you got to do is sign up with promo code Joe102 to bet the NBA playoffs risk-free, exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older in Tennessee. Risk-free bet for first online real money wager only. Refund issued as a now-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Same-game parlay refund issued as a now-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same-game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Genesis Diamonds is celebrating the summer of 2021 with an offer that everyone's loving right now. 5 years, 0 interest financing with 0 down on anything and everything. Upgrade or diamond, and you can spread the payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Treat yourself to that designer necklace or those diamond earrings you've had your eyes on. It's easy with this spectacular offer, and everything's included, even all our GIA certified diamonds. Pick any item, divide the price by 60, and that's your monthly payment. No down payment is required. You can even finance the sales tax. People are driving for hours to take advantage of this. Imagine a $12,000 designer engagement ring or diamond tennis bracelet, just $200 a month. It's the smartest and definitely the most cost-effective way to treat your special someone or even yourself. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down, now for a limited time. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Unapproved credit.
Yo, it's Turron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out freedomtireguys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at freedomtireguys.com.
Hey guys, it's party time. It's the 102.5 The Game deal of the week from Party Foul. Go to thegamenashville.com right now to get half off a $30 gift card. Party Foul has your Nashville hot chicken, local brews, boozy slushies, and wall-to-wall TVs. 4 locations: downtown Nashville, in the Gulch, Donaldson off Lebanon Pike, Cool Springs Galleria in Franklin, and Murfreesboro off Broad Street. So head online to thegamenashville.com to get half off a $30 gift card while they last to Party Foul.
ESPN's Turron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
I want to see how much they put on Elijah Molden, because that young man is a very intelligent player.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
I think that's an example of playing beyond scheme.
Only on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pekka. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Peck, can you tell us what you're going to do next year? Call us, 615-737-1025. That's our phone line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Speaking of that, our next guest is on that phone line. His name is Turron Davenport. He goes by TD. He has a podcast, Talking with TD. He joins us every Monday. He also has the Power Hour during the 3 o'clock hour. He does it all. And he's the NFL Nation reporter for ESPN and ESPN.com. And his Monday visits are presented by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company. Online at freedomtireguys.com. Back here on the DDC. TD, what's up?
What's going on? I gotta say this, man. My guy Elijah always comes through with the beats. That Wu-Tang Protect Your Neck got me walking through the aisles of the store just bobbing.
Well, that's his job, is to get you pumped up for this segment, is to get you going, get you going in the right direction. It's your pump up song.
Glory is temporary.
It doesn't take much.
Wu-Tang is forever.
Well, it does though, because if he played the wrong jam, you'd be like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" You know, I mean, you wouldn't be into it.
We just go ahead and get into it because we could talk and shop. So that's just as good.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? We all should have a little more pep in our step today, right? Now, after the news from yesterday, your initial reaction from it being finalized and Julio Jones now a member of the Titans.
I just, I was like, I guess they're not following the Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby hours, right? Doing business on a Sunday. That's what really surprised me.
That is a great line. Oh my gosh. I am going to absolutely steal that moving forward.
It's all you. It's all you. But no,
That's
man,
fantastic.
I didn't think that it would go down on a Sunday. Seeing it happen though is really good. I mean, it's awesome for Nashville. I always say I don't have a horse in the race, but I really do, because now, this is getting more exposure for me, and not to be selfish, I appreciate that. So I think, there's a lot of excitement. This team is going to be really good. You guys know how I feel about A.J. Brown. So knowing that he got some help and, you'll get to see him excel even more, that makes it all the more valuable. And it's a great move. And John Robinson, he did the job, man. And now it's just time for them to go ahead and deliver on everything that's there. And you just got to see if everybody can stay healthy and see how it can happen.
I don't necessarily have to steal it on the air. I could just tell my wife, because I'm just telling you right now, Chick-fil-A, you talk about that being your jam, Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby, that's her jam, so she could appreciate that line. So maybe I'll just tell her off the air and steal it that away, because she'll appreciate that line. That's very good.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll give you a little tip from Chef Boyardee. One thing that you could do with your chicken breast, you marinate it in pickle juice. You simulate that Chick-fil-A taste, man. It works every time.
I'll give you a little tip. Sam's Club sells chicken nuggets that have that pickle flavor, just like Chick-fil-A. Just saying. Go check it out at Sam's Club. We've purchased that and went, whoa, this tastes like Chick-fil-A. The pressure now, because everybody's excited. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's talking about this move. But now, as we inch a little bit closer to training camp and preseason and the start of the NFL season for the Titans, then the pressure will get ratcheted up. And when you think about Ryan Tannehill, since the start of the 2019 season, game-winning drives, he's first in the NFL. Yards per average, first in the NFL. This is since he took over as the starting quarterback. Fourth quarter comebacks, tied for first in the NFL. Passer rating, second in the NFL. TD percentage, not Turron Davenport, but touchdowns percentage, second in the league. Their offense has been first in TDs, 50-yard plays, red zone touchdown percentage, all this on Ryan Tannehill's watch. And, oh, by the way, you have the best running back in the league and another number one receiver. So you have two number ones, best running back in the league, and those stats from Ryan Tannehill. How much pressure is now going to be applied to Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel?
Well, I think when you talk about pressure, that's just what you make of it. And some people, they get fresher under pressure, others wither. And I think really this organization, they had pressure placed on themselves anyway, because, they know their window of winning opportunity was there. And I don't think bringing in Julio Jones makes the pressure any greater. I think it makes the, likelihood that their ultimate goal can happen a little bit more. So that's really what it boils down. So I don't think it changes anything. I just think it this is a team that they've been on the cusp of being, the elite in the AFC. And I think this only helps it.
How much can a guy like Julio Jones, with all that being said of what I just said, now what you have on offense going up against that defense, which lacked a lot of things last year, but now they get to go up against that offense every single day in practice. How much do you think that can help the defense?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll help the defense. And, you look at when they go in training camp, because, during the season, you don't really see each other, the first teams, that is. But, yeah, in training camp, it could definitely help sharpen things up. And even during the season, one-on-ones, when they do that period, it'll help out, and just give you different looks. And when you want to simulate, like, take, for instance, going against the Bucks, you know what I mean? That they have a guy that could, give them a look that's similar to the way Mike Evans plays, right? Just one of those above the rim guys, big receivers. So that definitely will help. And that's something I think is good for the Titans. As they say, iron sharpens iron. And that's exactly what will be the case here.
Yeah, you can't tell me that Tampa defense didn't benefit from going up against that Tampa offense in practice, right?
Yeah.
All those
absolutely.
Weapons.
Absolutely. It got him right during training camp, and I think that definitely helped. And then when you mix in Antonio Brown, he gets the corners ready as well, because he's just as tough to cover as anyone else in the league.
So here becomes a really big question, the big elephant in the room. How are you going to divvy this up? How are you going to keep everybody happy? So how do you see it playing out? Because you've got two number one receivers. You've got the number one back in the league. How do they divvy this up where everybody stays happy and they're a top 10 offense in the league, or quite honestly, a top 5 offense in the league?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one, I guess they know I'm on the phone when they have announcements. I apologize for that.
I didn't know if they were going to answer the question or they're going to leave that up to you.
Yeah, right.
Clean up aisle 13.
Julio Jones has been traded to the Titans. Julio Jones to the
attention
Titans.
shoppers, Julio Jones is now
Julio
the
Jones is
Titans.
playing his touchdown in Nashville. Julio Jones is now in Nashville.
Get your jerseys in aisle 12.
If you'd like a
You guys
Mariota
have a
jersey,
lot of
number
fun
8,
with this.
converted into a Julio Jones jersey, we can help you on aisle 12.
Buy a Jones jersey, get Mariota jersey for free.
Do you think there'll be some 8?
Yeah.
If he wears number 8, they'll can be converting the old Mariota jerseys that were half off in the store. You can those guys got a new value. Is he going to wear number 8, Turron? Oh, now we've lost.
I don't know. I think he cut out.
Man, what happened?
Yeah, no, I muted it.
Okay.
You know that's very likely to happen. They'll put the tape over the jersey and have it that way. But I think it's important we answer that Julio Jones question and how he'll fit. And that's something I asked John Robinson about. If you look over his career, typically 9 targets per game is about what he got. So this is a situation where you're not going to see that, right? He's not going to get that. So how is he going to react when he is not getting, only getting 3 to 4 targets as opposed to 9, and John Robinson said that he talked to him and he told him that, his top goal, the number one priority was winning, not getting 9 targets per game. So that's kind of how he'll fit. But I think it's really going to come down to maximizing those opportunities. And it goes back to something that Rob Moore said last year as Corey Davis and A.J. Brown were trending towards 1,000-yard seasons. And that's, they take pride in that receiver room and being able to get 1,000 yards off of 50 to 60 catches. Now, that being said, obviously they're going to want as many targets as possible, but that just shows you, they're used to making the most out of opportunities. And I think Julio Jones is just going to do the same.
Turron Davenport is with us. So, Turron, my wheels were turning on this because they stood pat. They let Corey Davis go. They signed Josh Reynolds, but for a while, they didn't go out and draft a wide receiver in the first round. I just wonder how far back they maybe had this idea that, we have the ability to go get a guy that just doesn't become available very often. And so I'm gonna slide my chips over that way, not knowing that they could do it, but knowing that they could make an attempt to do it. I just wonder how far back that goes. Are we talking March? Are we talking pre-draft? Do you think that they had this idea?
Yeah, that's what I'm really curious about too, and that's why I asked about that. And I mean, they said, as far back as when he became available was something that they contemplated. So that kind of tells you right there, it's something that they absolutely looked into, and it's something that, fortunately for their case, it came to fruition, and here we are.
Right, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, though. It's not like they first thought of this a couple weeks ago when the rumors started, right? They couldn't have.
That's what I'm saying.
It seems like it took planning, right, going back several months. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah,
a couple of months.
Obviously, it absolutely took planning, because it's not just a matter of giving up compensation. You have to do a little bit of salary cap gymnastics too to make this thing work, and that's something that John Robinson talked about. He said that they're not going to have to cut players, but they will have to do some things to be able to get him in the cap, because that's a big number that they have to get it under.
Well, how far down the road do you think they are along those lines? Because I would imagine there might have been some calls to agents, maybe letting them know, which you don't want to have everything leak, but at the same time, there might have been some, hey, would you be willing, if we can pull this player in, would you be willing to talk restructuring? I just wonder who they've talked to and what kind of traction they've gotten on some of this stuff, because he seems pretty confident. I mean, they have to get it done, but like you said, you don't want to have to cut anybody that you want to keep.
Well, I don't know that they did talk to anybody, to be honest with you, or at least you look at Ryan Tannehill. He said that hasn't been approached, but he wasn't opposed to it. So I think when you look at the whole restructure thing, guys aren't losing money. You know what I mean? So It's not like they're going to just outright say no. They're doing something to help this team win, and these guys, they want their team to win. So they're going to do a quotation mark sacrificial type of thing, but it's not really that. So I don't think finding ways to free up that money is as big of an issue as far as the player to team relation of it is. I think down the line, kicking that can down the line, that definitely does make it a little more difficult. But I mean, when you get a chance to get Julio Jones, why would you not kick it down the line? And that's really what the Titans came down to. And you know, Vin Marino, he's going to earn his money with this one because he has to redo things.
Talking to Turron Davenport, Titans NFL Nation reporter for ESPN. You tweeted, I believe it was yesterday when all this was going on, about the fact that you have with AJ, Julio, and Josh Reynolds, they can all play the various wide receiver positions, which I think is going to be huge for Todd Downing, as we were discussing earlier. How unique is that, though, to have three guys that one can play the slot and play outside, they can play the X, the Y, whatever, and to have them all on the same team am I making more of a bigger deal than it actually is, or is that pretty unique?
I think that is a pretty big deal, but I mean, you know, when it comes to playing the slot as opposed to outside, it's not like it's monumentally more difficult. You have more space to operate. You do have to have some heart, right? Because a lot of times you have to be going across the middle, and on running plays, you're going to have to dig out the linebackers, you know, take them out and go to the safeties and those kind of things. But I don't think it's completely unique. A lot of guys that are bigger receivers are you know, they get asked to bump inside and play the slot, and that's something that I think you know is good for the Titans, because now they could kind of move guys all around, and then not to mention Des Fitzpatrick is capable of it too. But you know, you can move guys around now. You look at what the Titans did against the Ravens, right? They wanted to get A.J. Brown in the slot to have more space to operate against Marlon Humphrey, who is a really good corner. And look what happened. So I think that's what it really is. And that's why I asked Todd Downing about just the versatility aspect. And he said that's huge. And then the other thing is, you know, you can just have a situation where whoever you call on, hey, I need you to go at X on this play. Go out there and do it. And now they're cross-trained and they're able to do anything within the playbook. And that just opens things up more.
So over the weekend, Kevin Johnson announced his retirement, and I know he was not supposed to come in here and set the world on fire and be a starter, but he was brought in to be a depth piece. And we know that this defense, they're trying to do everything they can to make it better than it was last year. So what does that move do, in your opinion, if anything? And, you know, could that open up more opportunities for somebody like an Elijah Molden, a draft pick, to maybe make more of an impact sooner?
Yeah, I think Molden was going to have an impact regardless. I got to talk to him multiple times, and, you know, he's a guy that is really going to be able to hit the ground running. He's working on getting that playbook down and those type of things, and he'll be the nickel, right? So that was kind of the area where they thought that Kevin Johnson would come in and help them, in addition to depth, right? But I think when you have Molden, and he's much cheaper, you know, so it's a good thing for a team with cap issues, right? That they, you know, are able to get out of some of that money that Kevin Johnson was going to get. So that only helps. So I don't think it has real ramifications on the roster overall. Because like I said, Elijah Molden was going to play regardless.
Turron, before we let you go, I loved the numbers, and you had some really good ones in terms of the pick your poison. Some people will just say, you know what, I don't need the numbers. I know that when you have those three guys on the field, it creates problems for a defense. But I just love to see it defined in the numbers that you had in terms of what a guy does, you know, what Derrick Henry did when it's not an 8-man box, what Julio Jones does when you do load the box. I don't know if you can rip it off the top of your head if you have it in front of you, but give us a little bit of what you shared there.
Yeah, Derrick Henry off the top, just kind of recalling this 6-man box, I think it was. He was averaging around 6.3 yards per carry.
That's pretty good.
And then AJ Brown, you know, has excelled against 7-man boxes. I don't remember the exact number. And then Julio Jones against 8-man boxes was you know, averaging around 5 yards. And this is just all. I don't remember exactly what the stat was, but long story short, it was in essence pick your poison. And I think that's really what happens, because you want to have, you know, 2 post safeties. Derrick Henry's going to run all over you. And then you want to drop one of those safeties down. Now you got one-on-one against Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, and chances are that's going to be a victory. But then also when you stack the box, Derrick Henry is one of those backs where he gets to the second level, and he's going to be gone because he has the ability to outrun pretty much anybody on the field, and you've seen it multiple times. So you look at just his stats, you know, he's actually even better going against 8-man boxes. So it's just like whatever you want to do to this defense, this offense, like they have the potential to really turn it up and just have their way. And then on top of that, you got play action, right? You go play action, hit A.J. Brown on a couple of those crossers, and then you have that post going over top, and we see the safety start to cheat, and the corner, you know, play the post. You could tag it, and then it turns into a corner route, and the safety's all confused, and you have a 70-plus yard touchdown like Corey Davis did against the Lions. So there's just so much that you could do. I really look forward to seeing how creative Todd Downing is going to be with this offense. And I know Whiteboard Wednesdays, I'm definitely looking forward to getting those.
You're going to have
wait for that.
So many things. Yeah.
You're going to have some material for Whiteboard Wednesdays. So if you want to see the specifics, you just follow Turron on Twitter at Turron Davenport. I'll tell you, that was some good stuff. And, you know, if you want it simpler, I don't know, you can find this guy. I don't know where my son found it. He always shows me these funny things, but there was one guy that was just trying to say the same thing we just said, Turron, you know, that's pick your poison for the defense. It was a guy going, here is the defensive back, or, you know, the safety, you know, for the other team when he sees Julio on one side, AJ on the other, Derrick Henry in the backfield. And the guy was just sitting there going, help, help.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that says the same thing as Turron's tweet.
At T Davenport _ NFL. That is his Twitter handle.
There you go. Check it out. Turron, good stuff. So what do you got going this week besides watching the Mets who held their own in San Diego there? Always got to get a little.
Yeah, that was impressive, man. Marcus Stroman is always good to see him do his thing.
Yes.
This week, I mean, we got talking with TD. That's going to be, we'll have D. Orlando Ledbetter out of Atlanta. We'll have him on talking Julio. I got Nate Washington. We're going to do, you know, the Nate and TD show just for a segment, and obviously Run TMC with Chris Sanders. So I'm looking forward to the show, and got 1,000,001 literally hits. You know, it's good to be busy. I'm glad the Titans are drawing interest because I love doing this. So, yeah, let's go.
All right, Turron, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon.
You got it.
Thanks, TD.
All right.
We thank TD as always. Now, Chase, before we get back to it, you've got a word.
I do, and we've been talking some odds here on the show because the Titans' odds have changed with the Julio Jones trade. As I've just seen that their win totals have gone to 9.5 now for the season. But summer's here, and the sports betting action is heating up at BetMGM. So ready to feel some playoff excitement in hockey and basketball? Just sign up with BetMGM using the bonus code 1025GAME, and your first wager is totally risk-free, up to $600. When you register with BetMGM, you'll also get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials on your favorite sports. Whether you're a fan of MLS or MLB, you can make every goal and home run mean so much more with the king of sportsbooks. It's very simple. All you have to do, download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME and get back up to $600 on your very first wager. New customer offer, paid in free bets. You must be 21 years or older, must be in Tennessee. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, you can call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Listen to us talk sports out of our app. There are some positives. How could you do this? Single. Release. Tell us. Bye. You're cut. Day. Outstanding cameo performance. Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Dew points are in the 70s, so it's going to feel uncomfortable today. Highs in the lower 80s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible as well throughout the day and for the rest of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
In case you missed it, mortgage rates have plummeted back to their lowest points of the year. Hey, it's Willie Daunic. Don't miss this fresh new chance to lock in your forever loan with Loan Pronto. Call now and take advantage of Loan Pronto's special zero-cost refi program. You can snag a super low rate with no junk fee and no closing costs. And listen, they don't just roll closing costs into your loan. They cover them for you. Who else does this? If you thought you missed out on the best rates ever, you have another chance. Even if you refinance last month or last year, you can do it again. Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Most loans get closed in 14 days, and most don't even require an appraisal. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero costs.
Having your own home is awesome, but it's also a lot of work. The good news, finding help for your projects is easier than ever. Introducing Angie, the app that puts all your home care needs at your fingertips. Need a pro to fix that emergency leak? Maybe find someone to build a deck, or even set your seasonal tasks on autopilot. Angie can handle all that and more. Expert pros, hundreds of home projects, clear pricing, and the easiest way to book and pay in seconds. This is Angie, your home for everything home. Download the app today.
Golf like no other at Hermitage Golf Course. Voted the top daily fee course in Tennessee by Golf Digest. Hermitage has been a must-play in Nashville for 35 years. Hermitage is a high-end public golf course featuring 2 stunning layouts. Choose from 8 luxury cottages on site for a stay and play or just a relaxing getaway. With a newly renovated bar and grill and full-service catering, Hermitage is the perfect place for your next outing as well. Hermitage Golf Course in Old Hickory, Tennessee, home of the Scottish Blackface Sheep, and your next golf adventure.
Who doesn't want instant gratification? If you're looking for satisfaction, there's no need to wait. With Credit Karma Money, you could win cash reimbursements for debit card purchases. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win daily instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Just go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning instant Karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
Jared Stillman.
Dad, why are we doing this? Because I said so. That's how Mike Vrabel is running the operation, at least with the fans.
And company.
Getting the because I said so answer doesn't give us anything.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
They can only take a step forward here knowing that they're really adding a huge key piece. And I can tell you, Tennessee is so psyched about this. The players have been campaigning for this for weeks. So A.J. Brown has looked up to Julio Jones his whole life. He's been messaging him on Instagram. Basically, he's doing everything everyone does in 2021 to get attention and get players to see that they want them. So I'm sure the happiest person right now in Nashville, Tennessee is Ryan Tannehill.
Some things you just know.
I have to know. Do you think everybody knows?
When you know, you just know. It's time to set the record straight. Join the fun on This Is What I Know with Darren, Daunic, and Chase.
We do want to know. Diana Rossini evidently knew Julio Jones was coming to Nashville. She is the Titans beat writer for ESPN. Back here on the DDC, don't forget to join Stars for their annual golf tournament, the Hart Golf Classic, on Monday, June 14th. That is a week from today. Next Monday at Vanderbilt Legends Club. This event pulls together some of our community's most influential leaders and business people. So consider sponsoring a hole or have investment in the hope, health, and connection of young people to be showcased. Registration to play is still available. The tournament is a scramble format. Yes, that's good. 8 a.m. shotgun start, breakfast, and lunch will be provided. It's the Hart Golf Classic for Stars. Nashville next Monday. Legends Club. For more information, please visit starsnashville.org or call 615-983-6805.
We encourage you. Jump in. Play a little round of golf. Help a good cause like Stars, and you will get the hospitality of Aaron, Daunic, and crew. They will go first class. I promise you that.
And hopefully it'll be great weather next Monday. 4-person pod to see Avett Brothers live July 3rd at Bonnaroo Farm in Manchester. That's what's on the line for This Is What I Know. So tell us what you know. It's wide open. It's easy to do. And you'll get a really, really cool prize. But you've got to call in and participate. 615-737-1025 is our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Once again, 4-person pod to see the Avett Brothers live July 3rd at Bonnaroo Farm in Manchester.
A little pod action.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the way to go out there.
I'm assuming that's VIP.
Gotta have the
I think
pod.
that gets you some good space, good access. I would say to facilities, shall we say?
Yeah.
Amenities.
I use Tide Pods, and I don't think it's a Tide Pod.
It's not a podcast.
I host a pod.
Yeah, it's not a podcast.
You host a pod.
I think
not
it's just like
pod.
a private. It's kind of a VIP feel, I would think.
Yeah.
You know
I've
what?
seen the Avett Brothers live. They're pretty solid. I saw them after a Braves game one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was at post game concerts. It was
Great
good
team.
stuff.
Great team, the Braves. What I know is words like pod when talking about tickets. You know, that's like new to the vocabulary because of 2020 and 2021. That kind of came.
Very true.
Is that a social distancing thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like pods. This is what I know. Mine's very simple. That Nick Saban has signed a 3-year contract extension and is now under contract to be the head coach at Alabama until February of 2029. That just coming out.
Base salary. That was literally mine. This is what I know. So
I'm sorry.
leading. Yeah.
Sorry.
Because I was about to say that. But anyway, $8.5 million per year.
It's good to be Nicky.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're the best coach in college football. So, yeah, it is good to be him.
This is what I know. I've watched a lot of baseball, as you guys have pointed out, as I told you earlier. It's time to get the announcers back in the parks. I'm disappointed that ESPN in a big national tournament like the NCAA baseball tournament didn't make the effort to get the announcers to the parks, because it really is hard to call baseball. It's hard enough. You guys know, we've talked about it a lot, the challenge of calling hockey when you're not in the arena, the challenge of calling basketball, all of the things that you try to do to make it the best they can. And these announcers are doing the best they can. But I'm sorry, in baseball, it's the hardest because of the camera angles. I felt so bad for some of those guys, particularly last night. You know, it's hard to see a ball down the left field line, fair or foul. You can't see the umpires. You can't see the runner. And you're just going to miss some calls. I just don't think at this point, especially for big games like the NCAA baseball tournament, it's time to put the announcers back in the booth. Give them a chance to bring out the game the way it should. That's my thing. That's my soapbox for this. There's a great article in The Athletic from the Major League Baseball perspective. Major League Baseball announcers have been trying to make it work. I think it's harder in baseball than any other sport. But for the NCAA tournament, come on, get the guys back to the booths. No reason you can't.
We had Todd Walker on last week. He was fantastic, but he said he was a part of the South Bend region, and he was not going to be there. He was going to be doing it remotely. So.
And he was not happy because he was at the SEC tournament in Birmingham, and he was like, man, that's how you forget about how much different it is when you're calling the game from the park. You can actually see the whole field.
This is what I know. Julio Jones is the second richest wide receiver of all time. He has made more money than everybody in the NFL at that position. Then
I looked at it, so I'm not going to guess.
Of course, it was from Spot Rack. Of course you looked at it. Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm not kidding. That's where I saw the tweet. Larry Fitzgerald has made $180 million in his NFL career, and this is year 32 for him. Julio Jones has made $125 million. Calvin Johnson, $113 million. AJ Green, $108. Andre Johnson, $106. That's what I know.
Moss is on that list too. Three of those have been Titans.
Three of them. Well,
I mean, that's not wrong.
That's quite the stretch, but yes, I guess technically that is true.
They received paychecks from the Addams family.
Yeah. Well, Andre Johnson. Yikes. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, you lead us off. What do you know?
Yeah, this is what I know. I know that for a running team like the Titans, bringing Julio Jones here is going to be an opportunity for Ryan Tannehill to really shine when it comes to his throwing arm. I think he's got it.
You think he's got it? Okay.
I do.
Well, I'll tell you what, we shouldn't leave him out of the pressure game because there is going to be a lot of pressure on Ryan Tannehill, even though I think
he may have the most.
He's been performing.
Well, quarterback.
But when you have when you have two number one receivers, there's going to be real pressure on him to do what Jeff's talking about. I mean, he's going to have to put up numbers. It can't be 180 yards.
Do what you've been doing.
Yeah, it can't be 180 yards and 2 touchdowns and Derrick Henry show because that's what they were already doing.
Why? If you score 35 points and win, there could be some weeks where that's exactly what you need.
Okay.
Yeah, but
if Derrick Henry runs for 175 yards, why do you need to throw for 500 yards? This is not going to. The math doesn't work that way. Just if you need to throw for 300, you throw for 300.
Yeah, but the thing is, when he's been in those situations where he's got to put the game on his back, he's come up at times short. I mean, look at the Ravens game.
But okay, I get that. I mean, there's no question in that game.
That's the knock on him.
Okay, but they're 18-8 since he took over as a starter. The numbers have been top 10 for the offense.
I just read off the numbers with TD. So yeah, he's Tannehill's been 1 or 2 in a lot of categories.
He's been awesome
in the NFL.
Tannehill,
same thing. Go stay at the same level. Everything will be good.
Bet online. BetOnline.ag. Tannehill to win MVP 40-1 before, now 25-1.
Yeah, there's pressure on him. And that's not doing the same thing. Yeah. By the way, that's not doing the same thing.
Well, I think it's by wins. It's not by stats. It's by
that's by stats. That's by stats.
It's everything.
But just remember, there's a guy named Derrick Henry back there.
Yeah,
he affects the quarterback stats.
You don't go from 40-1 to 25-1 just on wins. No,
what's wrong with this? What's wrong with his stats? His stats have been great.
Well,
they throw the ball 100 less times than other teams.
Vegas is telling you that his stats should go way up.
But no, I'm telling you that we're not talking about Vegas. We're talking about football. When you have Derrick Henry, now if they throw the ball 100 more times, then yeah, they should get a lot more yards. You do what's necessary to win.
Yeah, but that's not what Vegas is saying. When you go 40-1 to 25-1, they're saying his numbers are going to go way up.
Okay, if his numbers stay exactly the same and their team's record is 13-4,
then that's a losing ticket if you bet on him because he will not be the MVP.
Well,
that's a losing ticket.
Okay, fine. I'm not worried about those people that bet on that.
Right, but the people
I'm worried about whether the
Titans
Titans win or not.
Yeah.
And if he goes 12-5 or 13-4 as a starter, then I'm not really that worried about the numbers. Okay. Honestly.
But
I want to see how he does in the big games.
If you're going to sit here and talk about Julio Jones getting traded to the Titans and you just want everything to remain status quo, I mean, what are we talking about? Then why did you trade for Julio Jones? I mean, it's kind of a silly concept.
There's not much higher their offense can go. They're a top 10 offense already.
Number one, a first ballot Hall of Fame receiver who people believe still has a ton left in the tank, and you're talking about you just want Ryan Tannehill to do the same thing. I mean, that to me comes off pretty silly. His numbers have to go up. They have to go up. They have to go. Yes.
So Derrick Henry's numbers are going down then.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so they're going to change their offense and become just fling it all over the place offense.
You thought he was going to get 2,000? You think he's going to get 2,000 again?
No.
Okay, then his numbers are going to go down.
I mean, they're going to have to change.
He's still going to be
his numbers are going to go down. They're going to go down.
The offense was going to change no matter what. I mean, if you didn't replace Corey Davis and, who knows what Josh Reynolds is, I mean, the offense was going to change. Now it's going to change again because you're bringing in Julio Jones. I mean, there was no doubt it was going to change. So, and yeah, he's not going to get 2,000, even with the extra game. I know a few people have thrown that out there. Oh, yeah, extra game. He might do it again. I don't think so.
If Ryan Tannehill's stats look exactly the same as last year, I'm going to question why they traded for Julio Jones. I'll just put that out there.
Even if their record is 13-4,
I will question why they traded for Julio Jones.
Even if their record's better.
Their record, if their record is better,
yeah. If their record's better, then why would you question?
And you think they're going to get
no impact?
Better.
I think it's 34.
So he's a decoy all year.
Not at all.
Randy Moss, nice.
He's not a decoy.
Except Randy Moss wasn't even that. So
his numbers are going to go down. Derrick Henry's numbers are probably going to go down, but you're going to spread the ball around more, and you're going to have hopefully as good or better as an offense, which is an extremely high standard. That was a top 5 offense last year. You can't go much higher than that.
I understand.
If you can keep that, that's a great. If you can keep that same thing, to me, the stats are going to be whatever the defenses decide to do, right? It's like we were talking about with Turron. You want to load the box, then Julio Jones' stats should be better. He should get more targets. If you don't want to load the box, then Derrick Henry is going to run wild. But we don't know how they're going to just choose to guard them. We don't know if all three are going to stay healthy. We don't know what other little wrinkles they're going to put in there to try to create some other options for Ryan Tannehill.
I would expect
either way, he should be successful. I'm just saying they're a running team. They have been a running team. So I don't know if you're going to look at sees he's going to challenge Peyton Manning for touchdown passes and throw 50 touchdown passes.
I didn't
that's
say
not
that.
How they, that's not how they roll.
Just like Vegas, Ryan Tannehill's fantasy draft stock will go way up with this trade. That's what I'm saying, which means that people believe his stats are going to be a lot better. That's all. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm just saying if I'm in the Titans, I don't really care what the stats show as long as the offense as a whole is maintained top 5 level. And then, like Chase said, I think when you get to the playoffs, do you have maybe a second layer of how you beat a team?
Well, then why are we talking about getting to the quarterback? I mean, they won the division, not getting to the quarterback. They were the worst team in the NFL. They were historically low. Why do we even talk about them? What's the point? Who cares? They won. They won the division. So who cares about getting to the quarterback and sacking them? Why even talk about it? They won the division. They went to the playoffs and won the division. Why do we even talk about it? I mean, there's no point in it. They won. You're just simply saying it's all about the win. So why do we even talk about it? They won the division. They went to the playoffs. They were historically bad in the sack department.
Right, which is
historically bad. Why even talk about it? They won. What's the point? That's all that matters, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
You have no idea what is the point of how much did we talk about not getting to the quarterback, sacks or lack of? How much?
Right. Okay, you're opening up a new discussion about the Titans defense. Why even talk about
it if it doesn't matter? It's just about winning the game.
Okay.
Who cares?
Okay, I didn't know we switched to the Titans defense. That's a different topic.
You're basically telling us why talk about a category if all they do is win. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. That's what you just told us. Like, who cares as long as they win? So it doesn't matter if Julio Jones has 10 catches. As long as they win, it doesn't matter. We won't talk about it, right? That's basically what you just said. Like, who cares as long as they win? It's irrelevant. Who cares what anybody says as long as they win? 13-4, who cares? 10 catches, big deal, right? They gave up a 2nd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and they're paying him $15 million a year for who cares? All that matters is the wins. Okay,
the game is played.
Just as long as I know. Just as long as I know the parameters of this season.
Herm Edwards, you play to win the game.
Let's go. Thank you.
12:01.
Let's go to Billy. Billy, what do you know?
I know that anybody from anywhere picking the Colts to win the AFC South is crazy.
You think they're crazy? So you think the Titans with this move 100% should be the favorite?
I believe so. I believe 100%.
Okay. All right. I like it. I'm sure that's part of why they made the trade and gave up that. They have to like their odds now.
I am curious what this does to the box office and like the makeup of the fans. You know, we talked about other teams' fans infiltrating. Can you get a higher percentage of your fans in there? Because this is going to create a buzz. There should be a little.
It should.
A little edge, a little arrogance. I don't know if arrogance is the right word, but a little. What's
sizzle, pop,
swagger, right, from the fans. There should be some swagger. Let's get in there. Let's get our fans in there.
They better sell tickets from this. Period.
Sell tickets and also sell tickets to your fans, not to the brokers who just sell them to the other fans.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah, I mean, sell tickets to their fans. This should create sizzle and pop. I mean,
no
question. Doubt. Let's go to Greg. Greg, what do you know?
Well, this is what I know. I mean, you got to think about your number one competitor in the division, and that's the Colts. The Colts already had a pretty stout defense. They just increased that pretty significantly. They've got an offensive line and a defensive line. The Titans have lost so many key defensive players. I don't care if Julio was 85. He probably still can catch. He doesn't have the speed or the dynamics he had when he was at 20. But they got worse on defense, and I think that's where you're going to win the championships is in the trenches, and the Titans just got worse. So I don't think I have a chance. I think they're not only going to lose the division, I don't know that they'll even make it to the playoffs.
Okay.
Julio or not, I mean, Julio is a great, just phenomenal, one of the best ever. but he's on the decline. Everybody knows that. It's well documented. The last 2 seasons, he's been hurt. That's what happens. Randy Moss didn't testify.
Last 2 seasons?
I don't think it's the last 2 seasons. 2 seasons ago, he was off the charts.
Yeah. Look, Julio's great.
Really? So 1,394 yards is hurt?
1,400 yards?
Dude, he won't be the playoff. Look, the Titans, you saw what the Ravens did. They stopped that run. They better surely hope that they got some reliability. It usually takes a year to gel. They lost Corey Davis. They lost some significant players. Tight end, Jonnu Smith. They lost some really good players.
So you're going to say they're going to be worse and you don't even know the tight end's name?
Well, look, you're into my division, but I just know that you lost some significant players, especially on the offensive and defensive side. Whereas the Colts, some of the other teams in our division have only increased. I just don't see the Titans.
I don't think that's true.
I think I want to go back to Greg, something you said, just so to clarify. 99 catches and 1,400 yards is in a decline?
How old is he, buddy?
32.
I've asked you a question. Is 99 catches and 1,400 yards in decline?
Hey, absolutely not.
Well, you just said he was declining.
Dude, when they started to double him and show that they could weed him out, maybe give him 700 yards a year. How many touchdowns did he have last year? Oh, that's right. He had less than 10. He actually had, like Tyler said, the dude is way past his prime. He's not going to be a significant, especially when Bill Belichick decide to double him and take him out of the game completely. They don't have much of reliability other than Derrick Henry. Stuff the line with Forrest Buckner and some of those guys, whether it's the Colts, whether it's the Texans are out of it. I truly believe. So I think it's going to come down to, I think you would agree, the Colts and the Titans. And I just don't think the Titans have any gunpowder anymore. I think getting Julio was great for them, but it's going to last a year, maybe 2 years. And they don't have any defensive power. They lost so much.
Okay.
Greg, you should Google a guy named A.J. Brown and then
Thank
get back
you for
to
the
me.
call. I don't. Okay, so they have him for a year or two. It's still worth it. Okay, 2 years. That's what we said. I mean, is it worth a trade for 2 years, 2 productive years? Yeah, I think so. But I guess Greg doesn't. Greg thinks he's done. We'll see. One more. G-Pander, what do you know?
This is what I know. Who would have thunk at the beginning of the second round of the NHL playoffs that the Montreal Canadiens would have the Jets on the brink of elimination by a sweep?
I said it after game 1 that the Canadiens are going to win the division or win the series. It was over.
But did you say it was going to be by a sweep?
No.
But I just said after game 1, I said I feel like the Canadiens are going to win that series. It's over. They're going to beat Winnipeg. But to your point, did anybody predict they would be in a conference final? I would say no, absolutely not. 100% no.
And on top of that, I tweeted Elijah over the weekend to see what his opinion was for yesterday's game, and we both kind of agreed that would be the game. That if the Jets were going to win, that would be the one. And I'm kind of glad that I bet with my heart sometimes and not my brain, because the Montreals paid for a very nice dinner last night.
Very cool. Thank you for the phone call. We will come back and head east. We will bring in Vince Ferrara. We will do that next.
Do you want to have a 1K payday? Head to thegamenashville.com and enter this keyword, pay. You'll instantly qualify for $1,000 in this nationwide contest. Enter the keyword pay at thegamenashville.com. 1K payday. Brought to you in part by Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
There's a place full of summer fun and thrills for the whole family, where you can fly on world-class coasters and spin, play, and laugh together, where you can ride, slide, and splash the day away. Visit Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay. 2 parks for one low price. Save on family fun with our out-of-state offer. For only $39.95, visit one day and get the next day free. Plus, get free soft drinks. Details at KentuckyKingdom.com.
Yo, it's Turron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out freedomtireguys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at freedomtireguys.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 7750 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 7750. Enjoy.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase, with hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Third hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this Monday afternoon. We head east. Vince Ferrara, WNML, the sports animal in Knoxville, at Vince Sports on Twitter. Vince, you covered Julio Jones when you were in Tuscaloosa working at the Tusk. What do you remember about covering him in college? And now that you've seen that the Titans have acquired him, what did you think?
Well, first off, he was one of the highest-rated players in the recruiting class. I think ESPN had him in number 2, so he had massive hype coming in. And remember, this is very early in Nick Saban's tenure. He started the year before, so it wasn't really necessarily, cool or sexy yet, or they didn't have the track record of success. But he was huge in, being a terrific player and living up to that, but also setting the bar for other really highly rated players to go to Alabama. And obviously number 1 recruiting class after that, it continued and the history after that. But the big thing is he lived up to his billing. And, that wide receiver position had not been one that had a great track record of success at Bama. And he had the hype. He lived up to it. Rarely dropped passes, and he was the guy, but he still delivered. Now, another thing that stands out is we didn't get a chance to talk to him this freshman year because Nick Saban hadn't let freshmen, talk to the media. So that was one thing that was unfortunate. So everybody else had to answer questions about Julio Jones. But, when we did get a chance to talk to him, he was just, an all business type of guy. And the big thing is he delivered, and just like he played in the NFL with the Falcons, he was like that at Alabama. You just knew he was going to be special from the jump, and he handled all the hype and praise with no problem. And obviously, now he's playing with the best receiver opposite him that I think he has, probably in football ever.
Have a weekend, Drew Gilbert. What'd you think about his weekend?
Man, incredible. I got to call his 2-run homer yesterday that ended up being the difference, and in the 5th, and it was a no-doubter. And just like his Friday night grand slam walk-off, you talk about down 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to the 4 seed, and Tennessee was able to get a couple of singles, a line out, and a walk. and load the bases, and then Gilbert swung through a first pitch changeup, and you're like, all right, he's sitting on a fastball. Well, he wasn't, because he got a breaking ball right after that, looping curveball, and he was ready for it, and he destroyed it into the night in right field. And then the way he celebrated after that, he just connected with the fans. I mean, he was like Pedro Serrano from Major League. You know, when he was doing the gesture, bending down, gesture, going around the bases to his teammates for the Stones, so to speak, that he showed. That's the way he looked to go around the bases. And he even at one point, it took him 35 seconds to round the bases before he touched home.
And then don't forget how much distance do you think he had on the frisbee toss of his helmet right before he had to kind of look and it's like, okay, how do I actually get the last 10 feet here? Because his teammates were just covering the baseline. Like, where's the plate? It was unbelievable.
You know, Willie, because of all the things that have happened in Tennessee's history, I was thinking worst case scenario during that. Like
he's violated something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the umpires are not going to allow the final run because Tennessee's on the field. Or when he tossed his helmet, there was the first base umpire that was walking. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to hit the umpire. They're going to disqualify him and say he's out or something crazy like that. That would be a UT thing to do, right? Is you win a game and then have it taken away from you. I mean, that's happened so often. But yeah, it was close to an umpire, and that's what was going through my mind. And just good thing they didn't see Wright State after that, because they could have very well been retaliation. I'm sure they didn't like it, but nonetheless they didn't, and they survived. And then Wright State goes from thinking they'd be 1-seed Tennessee to 18 hours later getting eliminated. So it changed everything for Tennessee, and it just that celebration connects with the fans so much. Tony Vitello sprinting out of the dugout, running down the right field line. My partner John Wilkerson asked him, "Where were you going?" He's like, "I don't know. I was just running and celebrating." And so just all those things are just incredible on and just fans have fallen in love with this team for sure.
It's good to know nobody drank Joe Boo's rum. Yeah, the attendance looked fantastic. There's no doubt that the Vols the fan base has been dying for a winner, and they showed up. They showed up this weekend because it was a great scene, and obviously the team showed up as well and gave them plenty to cheer for. I suspected. I mean, is that truly what you guys? I mean, it's hard to believe for a market. You're going to talk a ton of football all year round. How much right now is being dedicated to the baseball team?
Almost all of it, which is wild. I mean, we'll put up post-game press conferences, especially after Friday. I mean, we're getting some football numbers in terms of views on that stuff on both videos and podcasts. And it's tough. It's tough for basketball to get to football levels of interest, and baseball is doing that. It's what everybody is talking about. It's crazy. I was just going to the media hospitality tent, and so many people were stopping me, and I'm a radio guy, so I like people know who I am, and just wanted to talk about the team and hey, who's going to pitch tomorrow and things like that. And just being out, that's what people want to talk about at remotes and anywhere else. So it's really neat, and this fan base deserves it. They've been through so much, and that's probably a factor in it. There's a whole new wave of people constantly jumping on the bandwagon. And Tony Vitello even mentioned that on our pregame interview that he told the university to try to keep track of how many people were asking and requesting for tickets that didn't get a chance to get them, so he can use that as well as numbers to what they could have potentially put in that building. The total attendance for the 3 Tennessee games in the regional was 11,898. And so a lot of people were, responded, well, that's what Tennessee should have as capacity for single games. And I get that a big part of what they need to do to the facilities is increasing the attendance, but it's really more than that. It's making the ballpark, it's enclosing the ballpark. It's having the luxury seating the luxury boxes to where you can generate revenue. It's having it enclosed so you can keep even more of that noise in and have it more of a home field. It's having it more fan friendly. And like there's standing room only, and it was still crazy and fantastic as it is. But you can take it to another level in addition to just the capacity. And so there's just so much there. But this is all very helpful for Tony Vitello, and he's making notes of everything to use once this comes up officially, and trying to get the things they need to not only compete with everybody else in the SEC, but stay at a championship level, which is what he wants.
First super regional since 2005 for Tennessee. We're talking to Vince Ferrara. So Vince, first, catch people up who maybe haven't, or just maybe tuning into this. They know Tennessee baseball is really good, been a long time. Who are they matched up with? What are they looking at for the next round?
Well, they are opposite the Eugene regional. As Tennessee is the number 3 national seed, they match up with the 14 seeds regional, and that's Oregon in Eugene. Oregon went through their regional with 2 seed Gonzaga, 3 seed LSU, and Central Connecticut State, and Oregon won the first 2. LSU had to come through the losers bracket after losing the first game, and they actually got in that game by beating Gonzaga yesterday, and then they beat Oregon late last night. So now it's a Game 7 winner-take-all to advance between Oregon and LSU. Oregon the 1 seed and LSU the 3 seed. LSU is a team that was here in Knoxville and got swept by the Vols earlier this year. LSU is a different team than they were back then, and they lost their number 1 starter, who's a first-round draft prospect. And now Paul Maneri has announced that he is stepping down after the season. So they're sort of playing with another edge and another purpose to them to try to keep Paul Maneri's coaching career, long, incredible coaching career going. So they're playing with a different level of spirit right now, gotten a little bit healthier in the field in some spots. So that's a team that I think some Tennessee fans might not fear, but maybe would want to see less than an Oregon. Oregon obviously doesn't have the tradition of baseball, and they have the brand as well. So I kind of think that Oregon might be the more desired opponent, even though they're the 1 seed, because LSU has tremendous tournament success, and you just never know that special thing they're playing for Paul Maneri, if that makes them more dangerous. I think it would. And just another Power 5, high-profile program like Oregon, you don't get to see them matched up with Tennessee much. Color contrast and all that. Be cool to see them come down. So those are the options. Unfortunately, they're not going to play till 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I don't know why they didn't move that up to a day game. A Game 7, if it was today in Knoxville, would have been a day game today, weather permitting. But they're not going to play that till late tonight, so they're going to have to wait to find out not only who's going to be playing Tennessee, but then the NCAA has got to delay until at least tomorrow to announce the schedule and times and all that kind of stuff.
I know the answer to this before I ask it, but Tony Vitello was hired by John Curry, right? The John Curry, if you bring up John Curry to a Tennessee fan, you know what reaction you're going to get. I'm just wondering, do you think he was treated a little bit unfairly based on everything that happened? It happened like an avalanche. It happened so fast. But, this guy has been just dragged through the mud. I don't even know where he is now, right? But this is a guy that, was a fairly credible guy in the field of being an athletic director, and just completely got buried by a fan base in a really short period of time, and then just went out in total embarrassment. Do you think it's been a little bit unfair as to what's happened to him?
Well, and he's at Wake Forest now, and so yeah, he had a solid reputation going in, and obviously that's helped him still continue to bounce back and land on his feet, and now Wake Forest. So yeah, people forget it and don't want to give him credit for what he did. That's probably the most notable thing of his tenure. I mean, there really wasn't a move of the needle in terms of football under his tenure, and that's what most people are going to judge him on or judge ABs on. And then what happened at the end, that absolutely, because football is such a big deal and the way it went down, that is what everybody is going to remember. So it's not an evenly weighted system. We could talk about the fantastic hire of Tony Vitello, but still to a large portion of the fan base, or at least to those that only care about football, that's not going to carry enough weight to offset what happened there at the end during the coaching search. So, probably so, really, but I just don't know that it's going to change anybody's mind. They've made that determination. But the one thing that he looks great on is that Tony Vitello hire, which is actually 4 years ago today is when Tony Vitello signed his contract.
We're talking to Vince Ferrara, 99.1 The Sports Animal up in Knoxville. And I want to go back to Julio that we started this interview with, that you, of course, covered during your time in that area. But I'm curious because we've looked at a lot of bets and stats and odds and of Titans before and now Titans after acquiring Julio Jones. Do you have just a general idea of how many people from your area would make the trip to games to watch the Titans? Because this state, we're lucky being right in the middle of Nashville. You're not that far from Knoxville, you're not that far from Memphis, so people do come from all over to go to the games. How much that was happening before, and do you anticipate that number going up now that they have another marquee player in Julio Jones?
I think some, but look, you see them all over the state, right? You see Alabama license plates and logos on windows and stuff. I mean, I see it here. So I saw it in the parking garage at Lindsey Nelson Stadium down the road from Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend. I mean, the Bama fans are sprinkled everywhere. So those, for sure, I think will go. This has resonated with Titans fans, and that has been, you asked about what are people, how much of this is the conversation is Tennessee baseball. Maybe next right now is Julio Jones going to the Titans, and that has been exciting. So I think so. I think there will be more people that will want to go, and part of that is just getting out, experience football. They probably maybe used to go to Titans games but didn't go last year. So I think it does move the needle with Titans fans here in East Tennessee. Certainly that's been another high topic of conversation since that went down officially. Yeah, well, and you kind of answered my next question, because where was it on the pecking order of things to talk about? And because, I mean, when ESPN's leading with it, you assume that, okay, it's got to be a big story within the state. But I'm curious, have people been interested in seeing what the Titans, have done the last couple of years, maybe more so than normal, just because they've been successful? Yes, and that is one thing that is you can see the discouragement when the Titans are struggling or average, and then a lot more people are coming out and being more vocal and outward in their fandom of the Titans when they're winning. That's not unusual for East Tennessee, people in East Tennessee to do that. That's the case in a lot of places, but it is that way. I mean, with the Preds, when the Preds had their great Stanley Cup run a couple of years ago, that was on a whole new level. And then when they haven't been at that level, then it's been quieter. Doesn't mean that those people aren't paying attention or following the Preds, but just not as outward about it, calling sports talk shows, posting on social media. So that's just kind of the norm, I think, with fans of teams, especially in their state just a few hours away. Vince, I know recruiting, obviously ongoing, having prospects on campus is big. How has that been, having some visit and the coaches being able to check them out? Yeah, it was weird. I mean, there's stuff going on the football field, and there was actually prospects, high school prospects that are on the field running drills yesterday out there. So that is huge, because this coaching staff has been behind, and then now to finally be able to evaluate guys in person and not just have to rely on tape and word of mouth and things like that. It's on a different level. And it's not the only thing that they will go by in their evaluation. Obviously, their game tape and everything else and other camps they do will be a part of it, but man, it's such a difference maker to be able to see these kids, evaluate them, see how they carry themselves in between the drills and while they're there, while they're on campus. And then, you know, when you have hosts of players, and you can get info from that as well. So it's just a different level of evaluation, and this coaching staff has to build those relationships and get the evaluations right. Because when you're behind in terms of talent and getting the kind of guys that they need, you need to be right, and they can't afford the missed percentage that has taken place with Jeremy Pruitt and his previous staff. So that would be very, very critical. And obviously the in-state recruiting too, a number of those guys in-state that are important, and four-star guys, offensive linemen, they have to make some headway with them and get UT to start getting commits from in-state players and build off of that, because you know, it's a really small group right now. And this is more than just next year's class. This is, you know, building on 2023, 2024 down the road as well.
Well, Vinny, appreciate the time as always. We'll do it again next Monday at noon, and who knows what else we'll have to talk about with Tennessee baseball and everything else going on.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, pretty different, but yeah, always stuff to talk about. Great to be on with you guys as always. Appreciate you.
All right, Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the sports animal in Knoxville, joins us every Monday at noon. We'll have much more coming up on Julio Jones and the Titans. But first, Darren, you're going to tell us about some friends of yours.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about my friends over at Cool Springs MD. I call them my friends because they've been improving my quality of life for years now. I've been going over there, and they've been helping a lot of you in this market as well become healthier and happier. They've been in this market since 2007. Dr. Jeffrey Lodge is the board certified physician. Their wife Daphne's the registered nurse, and their experienced staff would love to help you in a variety of ways, whether it's weight loss management. Maybe you've tacked on some unwanted pounds, which is not uncommon as we all get older. And they've got programs and people and products that can get you headed in the right direction ASAP. Rejuvenation. You can sit down and discuss PRP, hair removal, Botox with their experienced staff. Also hormone therapy. Maybe you've been feeling a little bit off lately. Haven't been feeling yourself. You feel like something's wrong. You don't have the same drive or energy, or maybe some mood swings. Well, get your levels checked. Maybe they've dipped. Maybe they've dipped to an all-time low, which could affect you in some or all of these categories. And they can discuss BHRT, testosterone, estrogen. They do it all under one state-of-the-art facility out in Cool Springs. 1642 Westgate Circle is where you can find that facility. If you need to schedule a consultation or an appointment, dial this number, 615-283-7291. That's 283-7291. Or you can always learn everything about them by going to their website, coolspringsmd.com.
Breaking news. The Titans have acquired wide receiver Julio Jones from the Falcons. What kind of impact can Julio have on the two-tone blue?
For a guy at 32, there's still reason to believe he's got something left in the tank.
Where do the Titans stack up in the division?
This window that the Titans are in is not going to be open much longer.
Keep it locked
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
More than 80% of hospitals and other healthcare employers are now looking to hire nurses holding a bachelor's degree. If you want to become a nurse and need an affordable nursing program, Aspen University wants to speak with you about our accelerated hybrid BSN. Want to learn more? Just text NURSE to 323232 right now. Most courses are online. You'll attend campus for your labs and complete your clinicals within our network of healthcare partners. Plus, if you need more flexibility, we offer nights and weekend schedules. Text NURSE to 323232 right now. If you want to become a nurse, now is the time. There's no wait list. Applying is free and takes just a few minutes. Don't wait. Spaces are limited. Text NURSE to 323232 to learn more. Text the word NURSE to 323232 right now. Text NURSE to 323232. The total cost of a degree program will vary depending upon the courses taken, transfer credits awarded, and fees incurred. Employment statistics are from the AACN Research Brief published in December 2020. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Message and data rates may apply.
Golf no other at Hermitage Golf Course. Voted the top daily fee course in Tennessee by Golf Digest. Hermitage has been a must-play in Nashville for 35 years. Hermitage is a high-end public golf course featuring 2 stunning layouts. Choose from 8 luxury cottages on site for a stay and play or just a relaxing getaway. With a newly renovated bar and grill and full-service catering, Hermitage is the perfect place for your next outing as well. Hermitage Golf Course in Old Hickory, Tennessee, home of the Scottish Blackface Sheep, and your next golf adventure.
Zines First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
It's so on. The Sirius XM Listen Free event is happening now. Just press the Sat button in your car to hear over 100 channels, including ad-free music of every kind, plus sports play-by-play and talk and news for everyone. Enjoy even more free when you download the SXM app. Hear expertly curated podcasts, ad-free extra channels of music for any mood, Sirius XM video, and the ability to create your own Pandora music stations. Don't miss out. Listen free now.
After a long, cold, miserable, snow-shoveling, polar vortex, frostbitten winter, the last thing you want to do when spring arrives is yard work. So here's a helpful tip to get you out of raking and reseeding. Advice on how to go golfing instead of whacking weeds and mowing the lawn.
Zoom across your yard with precision and ease on a new Kubota zero-turn mower. Right now, you can get 0% financing up to 72 months on certain models. Visit Coleman Tractor, featuring Kubota's full line of Kubota lawn mowers, utility vehicles, and more. Check out the all-new Sidekick utility vehicle with best-in-class acceleration and the strength to haul half a ton or tow a full ton. When your job demands precision construction equipment, Kubota has earned a solid reputation for well-engineered products that are reliable and deliver results. Coleman Tractor has 4 convenient locations in Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Clarksville, Paris, and their newest location in White House. Now through June 30th, see us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more info.
ESPN's Turron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
I want to see how much they put on Elijah Molden because that young man is a very intelligent player.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
I think that's an example of playing beyond scheme.
Only on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You're looking at him and you're saying production is going to come because they're going to throw the ball. They're not going to change their style. They've gone to the AFC Championship game, couple playoff appearances on the backs of that running back in Derrick Henry. You think about the philosophy and style that Vrabel wants to play. They want to be big up front. They want to run the football. So you trade for Julio Jones when many people think Julio Jones is on the way backside of his career based on injuries. I don't believe that. But I don't necessarily like it for Julio, and I don't know what to make of it for the Titans because of the style of play. They're not going to all of a sudden become wide open. They're not going to be the Seattle